I call to order this work session of the Knox County Commission for Monday, April 17th. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lundy. Here. Commissioner Durrett.
Here.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Beeler.
Here.
Commissioner Daly.
Here.
Commissioner Jay.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
You have 10 members present.
We do have a quorum. I'll now look to Commissioner Lee for tonight's pledge.
Can we all stand and salute for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Our agenda is as follows. Our additions are items number 6, 46, and 47. We have 0 deferrals. Withdrawals, items 34, 51, 52. And our non-consent items, item 1, items 7 through 11, 23, 24, 28, 41, 42, and 46 through 50. I'll repeat those. Items number 1, 7 through 11, 23, 24, 28, 41, 42, and 46 through 50. Is there any more additions?
Just a
Commissioner
quick
Schoonmaker.
question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Hill, you pulled number 28. The companion bill to that is 29. Did you just want to pull 28 only?
Yes.
The fees? Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion or any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to set the agenda? Motion to set the agenda by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, please read our first item.
Item number 1, Resolution R-23-4-101 is honoring Joe and Dale Longmire upon their retirement as owners of the Midway IGA grocery store in the Corrington community.
Motion to move forward, no recommendation.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Frazier with a second by Commissioner Daly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. There's one presentation, number 6.
Okay, on the presentations, 2, 3, and 4 deferred to Monday?
Correct.
Deferred, and 5 deferred to Monday. Item number 6 is a presentation to receive an update from the Community Action Committee, CAC Head Start Director Renee Hogg.
If you would please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record and organization. Thank you.
Barbara Kelly, 5738 Sunrise Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee. And thank you all. Thank you, Commissioner Frazier, for setting up this time for us and for a briefing on Head Start. And thank each one of you for your time this evening. I think most of you know that City of Knoxville and Knox County created CAC about 60 years ago to meet the needs of low-income people, seniors, unemployed, and other folks requiring special services and assistance, and to mobilize primarily financial grant funds to carry out that work. And as I said, that was almost 60 years ago. And of course, the mix of programs and services based on the resources and need have changed over the years, but Head Start has always been an essential part of the CAC network. And so we're pleased to have a chance to brief you on Head Start. And actually, Renee Hagee is here with me, and she has only been with us for 36 years, providing outstanding services to children and families in Knox County, Tennessee. So I'm going to turn you over to Renee at this point, and I'm happy to see our PowerPoint up there. So, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Renee.
Hello, I am Renee Halge, and I am the director of the Knox County Head Start program, a program of the Community Action Committee. And I appreciate the time tonight to be able to share a little bit about the Head Start program with all of you. Next slide, please. The Head Start program serves children from low-income families. We are currently funded to serve 743 preschoolers aged 3 to 5 years old and 144 infants and toddlers, the birth to 3 age group. These children are from very low-income families. Just for context, approximately 70% of our enrolled families make less than $20,000 a year. On the next slide, and I would like to point out that these slides are our actual children, and these photographs were taken by our Head Start teachers. So these children come to us in great need, and Head Start's here to help. Our main goal is school readiness for our children. Next slide. When our children leave us, we want them to be physically healthy because we all know that it's harder to learn when you are sick or hungry. Next slide. We also want them to be socially competent and able to get along with others in a group and able to manage their emotions and behavior. And finally, next slide, we want them to be academically ready to face the academic rigors of whatever school environment they find themselves in. Next slide. Head Start is a comprehensive program offering services to children and families in a variety of areas: health services, nutrition services, social services to families, transportation, support for dual language learners, mental health services, parent support and parent education, and of course, education services. Next slide. This is tough work, and we rely on our frontline staff to help us with this work. Our program today has great needs. In our classrooms, we are serving children with significant disabilities, autism, sensory processing disorders, and developmental delays. We're working with children who have significant health needs as well. Children undergoing chemotherapy, children with ileostomy bags, children with serious allergies. And we are working with children with significant mental health challenges, which often present in the form of challenging behaviors in the classroom. Next slide, please. As I said before, we rely on our frontline staff to meet these high needs. Our teachers, our teacher assistants, and our family specialists support our children and families in addressing these needs, which brings me to the challenges that Head Start is facing today. We have experienced a significant staffing crisis at Head Start. We have 13 of our preschool classes that we have not been able to open this school year. Why are these classes closed? Because we do not have enough teachers and teacher assistants to be able to open those classes. There are several issues that contribute to this problem, but one of the issues is teacher compensation. We've lost a number of experienced, highly qualified teachers to the school system due to pay. Next slide. Just for comparison, let's look at a teacher with a bachelor's degree in early childhood education with pre-K certification. In actual dollars, that teacher working in the Head Start program would make $33,400 in a year. That same teacher working in the Knox County school system would make $43,077. This is a disparity that we are trying to address. And this is important if we don't fix this staffing issue, we stand to lose a lot. We could potentially lose federal dollars, and our Head Start program brings in about $15 million to the community. And we would definitely lose the ability to touch the lives of these children and families who need us so much. Next slide. The work that we do with the children today will have a direct impact on the world that we will live in the future. These children are our future leaders. These children will be making decisions for us when we are no longer able to make those decisions for ourselves. So who will this little girl become? Somebody's mother, a teacher, a doctor, a business owner? Next slide. And these two, who will they become? Next slide. And this little girl, what about her? And I especially love this slide because in this picture, she is showing us that she feels confident and competent and strong, which is exactly what we want our future leaders to be. Next slide. So this is our motto in Head Start, building tomorrow today. And that is what we do. We are building tomorrow today. So thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about our program and the challenges that we are facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Oster?
I want to thank you for coming down. I want to thank all you ladies for coming down. I got to go and meet with you and some of your other staff. Walked out of there feeling probably overwhelmed at not even close to how overwhelmed you have to feel sometimes of everything that you do for our community and so many things that we didn't realize. So as a new commissioner, it was really important for me to know everything that you guys do. And the Head Start program is just one of them that is so important, but equally every one of your programs is so important to our community. And so I just want to thank you all for what you do and the time that you take and the heart that you have for the kids and for the community. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Commissioner Oster. Thank you all.
Commissioner Daly? Excuse me, Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you all for coming and accepting my invitation to address Commission. I have the great privilege of serving on the CAC board, thanks to you all. And I get to hear from them monthly and the updates and also the challenges that they face. And I was also lucky enough several years ago to go through their leadership program. And it was at that time that I realized as a citizen and as communities, we really have no idea and don't appreciate the depth and breadth of services and programs that CAC provides to our citizens. It's really amazing. If you have not been able to stop by the Community Action Building, if you have not been able to step foot in the Head Start locations, I encourage you to do it. Those faces, the smiles on those faces, that's what you see when you walk into that building. Those children are so happy, they are so confident, and they are so loved and cared for through some amazing staff. And for several months, I had heard at the board meetings that the classes are closed. We can't open classes and serve these families. And it's because of staffing, and it's because of the shortfall. And so this commission will learn fairly quickly that the Community Action Center has reached out to both the city and the county to request some additional funds to help them with the staffing shortfalls. Because as they mentioned, not being able to serve those children mean that parents oftentimes will have to stay home with their children rather than go to work. And so this is a multi-layered issue, and I'm just so thankful to you all and thankful to my colleagues for really listening and visiting them and spending time with them and learning more about CAC.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Barber, Ms. Renee, thank you very much. Thank you for the little program we had that day, the insights. I really appreciate that, and just want to say thank you. And you're what, 50 plus years of service? Yeah, very awesome. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Kim Bumpus here. We skipped item 5, so let's go back to item 5, if you would, please.
I was unaware they were taking place this evening. Commissioner Frazier was the only one that informed me. So we will go backwards. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for all that you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Number 5 is presentation to receive an update on the 2023 Bassmasters Classic by Kim Bumpus.
Kim Bumpus, 301 South Gay Street. Thank you all for having us here. I am joined by Chad Culver, Senior Director of Conventions and the Sports Commission. I put a packet in front of you, so I'll be brief since I almost thought we weren't on the agenda. So I was just like, hey, I'm here. But with that, look at the packet in front of you. The Bassmaster Classic was amazing. It topped everything that we could have wished for. You know, we thought it was awesome in 2019 and raised the bar. Well, 2023 was even better. The numbers that you'll see in front of you is in 2019, we were over 153,000 people, 32 million in economic impact. 2023, we beat the record again at 163 plus thousand people, $35 million in economic impact, which is also very conservative considering everything that was going on over those 4 days. With that said, I hope that you'll really look at the packet. I'm not going to go through all of the numbers, but this is an event that, thanks to Chad and the work that his team does, this is an event that keeps on giving. It's not about just the numbers I said in the moment. It's the reach that tells the story of why you should visit Knoxville through the platform of fishing. And if you're ever just kind of curious as to what's going on in tourism, to segue off of that, fiscal year 22 was the best year we've ever had in tourism, from hotel motel collections, occupancy rates, average daily rate, which is what the hotel charges you when you book your room. Well, in fiscal year ending 23, which is what we're in right now through February, we are already up 8% in room nights off of 22 and 19% in hotel revenue, which all translates to hotel motel tax, which are tax dollars that they then use to fund a lot of different sources in addition to Visit Knoxville. So we appreciate you. If you have any questions, let me know. We're obviously not stopping. We're gearing up because we have the Visit Knoxville Open, USA Cycling, Street Ride, and it's their 49th year here in Knoxville, the Governor's Conference, AKA. We have a ton of events going on. Just come downtown and you'll kind of feel the compression. Are there any questions? And thank you, Commissioner Daly, for putting us on the agenda.
Commissioner Daly?
Thank you. Kim, I spent 33 hours there parking cars, and they were from Louisiana, Iowa, Virginia, West Virginia, New York, out of county. As far as if the license plate come in there, very few of them were from Knox County. They were from surrounding counties, which means they were coming and spending money. But really, you know, sitting there and watching all these license plates going by that's from out of the county, and for concerts, you need to send a thank you note to Virginia and West Virginia. They come for concerts. Journey and the Eagles, they're all out of town. They were all basically out of town people that were coming in, and Asheville and Spartanburg and all that. So you're doing something great. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. And we did have delegations in from Japan, Canada, Australia, all during Bassmaster and in the Eagles.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that, you know, it's a little known secret that K-Town, it doesn't stand for Knoxville or Knox County. I think it stands for Kim-Town. I mean, I just want to applaud your energy and your passion for this community and the people around you, and the way that you just bring people together and you excite your team and you energize them. And you are just a treasure to Knoxville and Knox County. And just thank you so much for just really digging in. And, we had this conversation about, we feel like Knoxville, Knox County, it kind of has an identity crisis. And I think you are hitting that head on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Commissioner Frazier took the wind out of my sails. I was going to, she's always doing that to me, too. I wanted to brag on you. I mean, people really do not understand the job that you have and the energy that you do it with and the passion that you have for Knoxville. And I mean, we are lucky to have somebody like you and your team really out there bringing business to Knoxville and really showing us off to everybody and showing what a cool town that we really are. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Bumpus, what does it take to bid on this, and how often are we eligible to have it back in a year or 2 year cycle?
Definitely. So it takes a lot. Obviously, it's a huge partnership, and the county is a big partner in it, along with the city and the state. So there's a bid fee that goes in line. Then you have all of the services that Visit Knoxville brings to the table. We are really on the rotation probably for every 4 years, but I will say this. Knoxville offers something to this event that no other destination can really offer. And what that is the proximity and how close everything is. When they're going to Tulsa, they're driving 90 minutes. Here, they have where they put in, where we do the blast offs, to the expo, to the weigh-ins. It's all right there within a 3-mile radius. So that's a big deal. So Chad is really kind of leading those conversations right now, but we're on the track for every 4 years. I was going to punk him and tell y'all we were having it every year just to see if he would fall out of his chair, but I pulled back.
And how do you given that this is such a massive event on a national scale and our proximity regionally is such an advantage, how do you leverage this to the other 6 or 7 major national events that we haven't yet gotten to be able to prove to them, hey, look what we just pulled off again, what we need to take a shot at X, because we often get passed over for some of those much bigger national things because we're not Nashville or we're not, Atlanta. So how do you leverage this?
Definitely. Well, I think the proof is kind of in the pudding, because when we hosted it in 2019, it led to a ton of other events like USA Cycling. We just announced USA Diving, which is the Olympic trials. All of the events, especially in sports, they kind of all segue, and Knoxville is on the map. We're on the map as a premier getaway destination for the leisure traveler, but we are also on the map as a turnkey sports commission. What we're doing at Visit Knoxville, a lot of destinations don't have a Visit Knoxville in the capacity that we are. We're turnkey. We have 4 tractor trailers. We have the premier sport court in the southeast. We are hosting events with all of those services that we can then offer to these events for free. So I say all that to say that we're cruising toward that. I think if you don't see something being hosted here that you're wondering, like, why isn't it here? Most likely it would have to do with maybe we don't have the exact right venue, which is why the multipurpose stadium that's, en routes right now is going to be key to some new events that we can bring to town.
Thank you. And Chad, I'm still waiting on American Ninja Warrior. Thank you.
Yeah, he's working on it.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Thank you so much, Kim, for all that you bring to our county. You do an amazing job.
Oh, well, thank you. We couldn't do what we do at Visit Knoxville without you, so we appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Item number 4 is presentation of the annual mental health report by the Knox County Health Department.
Madam Chair, could I set this up as they make their way to the podium?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Fellow commissioners, I'm really, really excited that we're going to get this next presentation. There's no greater time to talk about mental health than right now in our state for so many different reasons. This is the second year that you're being presented with the Knox County Mental Health sort of State of the Union report. And I just want to remind us how we got here. Several years ago, as we get annual reports from, say, housing authorities or from CAC or other entities, we began talking more and more about mental health, but we didn't really have an assessment of what that meant. We didn't have an assessment of knowing how many of our neighbors and residents were in a mental health crisis or needed services, who was at the table. And so I was able to sit down, and with your support and certainly with Mayor Jacobs' support, we started the first year by working with the Mental Health Association of East Tennessee, and we created that first annual State of Knox County Mental Health Report, which you saw last year. It was the sort of first of its kind, I believe, in the state, and then we took that to last June to the National Mental Health Association Conference in Washington, and come to find out it was very unique even across counties all across the country. And so from that brought back, and I really do have to give I hope he's here, yeah, he is in the back. Great credit to Mayor Jacobs, who brought that idea back and really lobbied and sat down and said, this needs to be more formalized, this needs to be bigger, this needs to be more robust, and it needs to be an annual investment that we make for at least the first 3 to 5 years to really understand what mental health looks like in our community. And Mayor Jacobs absolutely committed to it. I think you know his passion for supporting mental health in this community, and essentially brought the team together from the health department and said, how do we take this idea and build on it and bring more partners and more resources to the table? And that this is year 2, version 2, in a much more robust way. In reviewing this in the last couple of weeks, it was almost immediately evident that we had 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 other projects that needed to dive into very specific areas, which they'll share with you. But this is the tip of the iceberg. I think it is a great investment for Knox County to make. I think it's a great partner to have the health department drive the boat on it, and then work with Mental Health Association of East Tennessee, partner providers, and really even our state resources with Commissioner Williams to help us better understand what does Knox County look like when we talk about mental health. So I'm anxious for the presentation. This is an awesome team. And I look forward to your questions, but I appreciate the opportunity to set it up and tell us how we got here today.
Thank you. If you would please state your name and address.
So my name is Kendall Farrell, and I also have Dr. Corinne Tandy with me, and we are with the Knox County Health Department, 410 Dameron Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having us this evening, and thank you to Commissioner Jay for the invitation.
You got to really speak up into that mic. There you go.
I know I'm a little bit short for the microphone too, sorry. Next slide, please. So the goal of this report is to present and share data from Knox County mental health providers and individuals who work with people in need of mental health services about the state of mental health in Knox County, and to describe the reported issues and barriers in the community. The Knox County Health Department and the University of Tennessee Knoxville's Social Work Office of Research and Public Service collaborated to develop and administer a survey to mental health providers, first responders, and other stakeholders in the community. And we also completed focus group and key informant interviews. And with those key informants were identified and selected to represent differences in service sector, geographical areas of Knox County served, and agents of clients, among other special populations. Additional data from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, the Homelessness in Knox County Report, community health data that's been collected by the university, and local hospital discharge data were used to supplement our findings. Next slide, please. So what is mental health? Our mental health influences how we cope, adapt, and solve problems. It includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. There's no single cause for mental illness, but there are several risk factors that can contribute to the development or severity of a mental health condition. These include adverse childhood experiences, such as experiencing abuse or witnessing violence as a child, social and environmental factors, such as housing instability or income inequality, biological factors such as individual brain chemistry or family history, and poor access to mental health care. Next slide, please. So kind of zooming out and looking at mental health from the standpoint of the United States and in Tennessee, we know that there are more than 200 types of mental illnesses and disorders, and they are among the most common health conditions in the United States. More than 1 in 5 adult Americans live with a mental illness, and 55% of those living with mental illness receive no treatment, which is right around 28 million individuals. 6% of adults have a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression. And the ratio of individuals to mental health providers in the United States is 350 to 1. Looking at Tennessee, that ratio increases for mental health providers to individuals to 590 to 1. This ranks Tennessee 46 out of 51 states, which includes Washington, D.C., for mental health workforce availability, which demonstrates that we have a shortage of providers to meet the demand. Next slide, please. Now kind of zooming in and looking at mental health in Knox County. So Knox County is designated as a health professional shortage area for mental health providers for low-income individuals. Our providers and community partners were asked about the top 3 issues impacting community mental health in each of the 5 Knox County sectors. As you can see on the map, we were able to identify that North and Central ranked homelessness as their top issue, and South, East, and West ranked lack of access to mental health services as their top issue. Next slide, please. We then asked mental health providers to name the top 3 most urgent issues impacting mental health within the communities they serve. 54% of mental health providers ranked childhood trauma as the top issue. It was also ranked as the top issue in various demographic and population groups. When looking at childhood trauma, we looked at adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, and our 2022 Youth Risk Behavior Survey reported that approximately 1 out of 5 Knox County high school students reported having 2 or more ACEs. And students with 2 or more ACEs were more likely to report a variety of mental health problems, tobacco and electronic vapor product use, illicit drug use, and violence-related behaviors compared to students who reported no ACEs. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health concern in the U.S., and 43% of our mental health providers ranked anxiety as the second most urgent issue impacting mental health in Knox County. Anxiety also ranked in the top 3 issues for children and adolescents ages 0 to 17. And then homelessness was the third most urgent issue identified by 39% of mental health providers. Based on information from the Homelessness in Knox County report, mental health is one of the top 5 causes of homelessness in our area. Next slide, please. Mental health providers were also asked to identify the top 3 barriers to accessing mental health care within the communities they serve. Transportation was the most commonly reported barrier to engaging with mental health services, with 78% of our providers ranking it at the top. 68% of providers rank client knowledge of available services as the second most commonly reported barrier to engaging mental health services. And consumers of mental health services shared that the process of finding a provider is an added stressor when experiencing a mental health issue, as the information consumers find is often confusing or unclear. And access is the third highest ranked reported barrier at 64%. Accessibility was a common theme in our quantitative and qualitative analyses and encompasses agency capacity, insurance coverage, and continuity of care. Access may be ranked third for barriers, but overall it's the most common theme among our respondents. 88% of respondents to our mental health survey felt that there is a lack of availability of appointments. Cost is also a major barrier when discussing access that was mentioned in our key informant and focus group interviews. Community health data that was collected by the university found that nearly half of respondents indicating they needed mental health care did not receive it because they could not afford to pay for it. Next slide, please. And now looking at some special issues and populations. So we know that the topic of mental health is complex, which is why it was important to look at both the individual components of mental health and the interactions with other social issues and special populations, such as substance misuse, knowing that substance use disorder and alcohol use disorder are common co-occurring conditions with many mental health disorders such as anxiety and depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and others. We also looked at veterans and the unique experience of veterans and service members, such as transitioning to civilian life. Research has found that 11 to 20% of veterans experience post-traumatic stress disorder, compared to 4% of the general population. We also looked at children not just from a childhood trauma standpoint, but also how a child's mental health is an essential part of their overall health and can impact their ability to succeed in school and in society. Knox County Schools offers mental health services to students and staff through a tiered system of support. And in addition, KCS conducts system-wide training to staff members and offers counseling to both students and staff. And lastly, we looked at the justice system. Nearly 44% of people who are incarcerated in the United States in local jails have a history of mental illness. Knox County is in the process of establishing a mental health court and for adult defendants who have serious and persistent mental illness. The court is designed to be an alternative to incarceration by addressing underlying issues that led to an arrest and linking them to individualized treatment. We included these topics as a way to identify additional critical resources in our community. And these are all topics that we can expand upon going forward. You can read more about these in full detail in the full mental health report. Next slide, please. And now Dr. Tandy will discuss recommendations.
Thank you, Kendall. Am I loud enough? So to end our presentation tonight, I'd like to share some of the highlighted recommendations that we've made in the report. We focused on creating data-driven and community-specific recommendations informed not only by our local data, but by the interviews that we conducted with key informants and stakeholders in the community that are working with people in need of mental health services. The first set of recommendations that we have are with regard to meeting needs in Knox County. We recommended that an environmental scan of available services and a workforce needs assessment to be conducted to better understand how to respond to the staffing and service availability shortage that we consistently heard about. Additionally, we recommend that service capacity is increased, specifically as it relates to group homes and long-term care services for individuals with significant mental health needs. The second set of recommendations that we have are to address barriers to care. And so we recommend that free or subsidized transportation to and from mental health appointments be provided to enable individuals to attend their appointments and to expand telehealth services where appropriate and where possible in populations that are able to access it. It's also clear that there are excellent services already available in Knox County and the surrounding areas. And we have found that it is often true that providers are not always aware of those. And so we recommend increasing awareness of these existing resources with both individual and organizational level education campaigns, as well as targeted publicity and education to raise awareness of these services. To wrap things up, I want to acknowledge the Mental Health Association of East Tennessee, as well as the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for providing a great deal of the resources that we've included in the full report. And I want to thank the University of Tennessee for partnering with us to do this, the people that participated in our key informant interviews and focus groups. Their voices were invaluable in understanding what is going on in our community, and also Commissioner Jay. And thank you all for your time this evening, and would refer you to our full report for more data and recommendations, and welcome any questions or discussion at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you tell us where this will be published so that everyone has a chance to view it and share it?
Sure. My understanding, and I'm going to look to my communications.
It's online right now. There should be a link at the bottom of the one page that we have.
So there's a website on the bottom of the one-pager that we've provided, but it is also on the Health Department website in our reports.
Oh, it's right on the, okay.
Yeah, there's a little
Oh,
guy
it's on
right
the
on
back.
the bottom of the back page.
Sorry, I didn't read that far
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry, it's
Thank you.
got, so that's gone up today.
No, thank you very much. First, I just want to say thank you. I'm super proud of the work you guys have done. It is a heavy lift, and we have literally scratched the surface, but
Yeah.
really great job, and I hope everybody sees the value in this and continues to work hard on it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lundy?
Thank you. Hi, I was wondering how diverse was the focus groups?
So we specifically recruited, I don't have exactly the numbers, but we explicitly recruited diverse groups of community members and providers. So we reached out for people that serve people of color. We reached out for people that provide mental health services to the LGBTQ and queer community, and people that serve disabled communities. And so we tried to convene professionals that work with understanding the particular needs of these communities.
Okay. I think the report that was given last year, I think the guy, I forgot his name, talked about Black mental health therapists and the availability. Is there a shift in that or a change? Have you seen anything?
I believe in our last conversation, I don't want to speak to the initiatives of specific organizations that I may miss out on some of them, right?
Okay.
But I know that in a recent conversation with the Mental Health Association of East Tennessee, is that they have some initiatives that are intentionally trying to connect individuals when they call into their helpline with, Black individuals with Black providers and people that can provide that culturally appropriate care.
Okay, appreciate it. And one more question. Is there like partnership with Knox County Schools or any integration
Sorry.
with Knox County Schools?
Yes, I mean, we did include in the full report, it does sort of go over the Knox County School sort of newer system of care provision, training, et cetera. So we do not have like a, specific section on what do different sectors provide, but we were able to work with them on this. We had key informants that represented the Knox County schools, as well as many of the major resources that are highlighted in this full report, including major players in the community such as Cherokee and Helen Ross McNabb, very familiar names for people familiar with mental health in the county.
Okay, thank you. I know a lot of people, especially in my district, always talk about the need for trauma-based
Yes.
therapy, considering all the things that we have dealt with in District 1.
Yes, and one of the, this is highlighting some of the recommendations we made. There are some that also include these very needs-specific trauma-informed counseling and other directed, special practices that are necessary.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners wish to speak? Seeing none, thank you so much
Thank you for
for
your
this
time.
very important report.
And item number 2 is the presentation to introduce the Knox County Public Health Officer, Dr. Megan Edwards.
Good evening, Kevin Parton, Knox County Health Department. As many of you know, almost a year ago, we transitioned to a part-time interim public health officer as we did a search for the new full-time representative for us. With the help of the mayor's office, Mr. Vandevate, we did a nationwide search, and we were lucky enough to land a local individual. She graduated from the University of Tennessee, got her doctorate at ETSU. Most recently worked at UT Medical Center. I thank them for their donation. And she is certified in infectious disease and also in pediatrics. Most recently, she was also a clinical associate professor of medicine of infectious disease at the University of Tennessee Medical Center, or at University of Tennessee. So, Dr. Edwards, commissioners, this is your new public health officer for Knox County.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here tonight with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with these amazing public health professionals as we try to make Knoxville an even healthier place to be. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but the background in infectious disease, internal medicine, and pediatrics, I'm just very excited to use all of those experiences to try to be on the prevention side of medicine.
Commissioners?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
You had a question?
Commissioner Frazier?
I was just going to say welcome and just ask you, what do you see as our biggest challenge?
Oh, I couldn't pick one. I think there's a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunity, and that's one of the things that excites me the most is there's already so much energy happening at the health department. Some of the things that we're focusing on in the near future, I think, are going to be some substance misuse, overdose deaths, looking at continuing the work of prevention of communicable diseases and the treatments of those, and then working on education and how do we teach adults and teach our communities so they have the best information at hand to make the best decisions they can for their health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lundy? Is that your last? Oh, it's the chair. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Thank
We
you.
welcome you.
Appreciate it.
This brings us to public forum. Under our rules, those who have signed up to speak to a particular agenda item may speak at this time. We have 9 individuals signed up to speak. First on the list is Caroline Schoonover, followed by William Mendoza and Nina Thies. Ms. Schoonover, if you would please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Caroline Schoonover, 1845 Community Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37909. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Hi, I'm Caroline Schoonover, and I'm a junior at West High School. And as most of you know, I just graduated from the inaugural Knox County Junior Commissioner Program. I had the honor of serving and working with Commissioner Dr. Dacia Lundy and getting a taste of the General Commission experience. The goal of the program was to empower the youth to advocate, to get involved, to speak up. So that's what I'm here to do today, to advocate, to get involved, and to speak up. Junior Commissioners Anand Patel, Gabby Sanchez Benitez, Dane Shelton, and myself put before you and organized agenda item number 48, a consideration of a resolution of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, urging the state legislature to support Governor Bill Lee in his executive order and recommendations to the state legislature regarding a stronger order of protection law. This nonpartisan resolution would advocate, 1, to close the background check loopholes that our state legislation currently lacks. 2, it would advocate for safe storage laws. And 3, for the enactment of an extreme risk law, which temporarily removes guns from people who pose a risk to themselves or others. I care about my own life, and I care about the lives of my peers, but I'm not the only one. If you're here in the audience as a student, a teacher, a parent, grandparent, or concerned citizen, in support of R23-4907, please stand up. We care. The students care. The community cares. Knox County cares. Tonight, we're asking you to care. I urge you, commissioners, please vote in support of Resolution 23-4709. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schoonover. William Mendoza, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the, or excuse me, name and county of residence for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is William Mendoza. I'm at 2442 Brown Avenue, and I go to Career Management Academy. I live in Corny Durret's district. I am here to say that we are scared. I am scared. One of the school shootings, all the school shootings are really sad. but the main one that hit me was Uvalde, when 21 students died, and most of them were Hispanic. What are we gonna do? We talk about all these shootings that happen, and sometimes it doesn't seem like it's gonna hit us, but then it finally hit us in Nashville. We are scared. I am scared. One of the main things that has hit me throughout my years of being in Knox County, I mean, I've lived here all my life and going to these schools. I remember at Head Start, we were practicing what would happen at a school shooting. And to make it less scary, they would use a crocodile, and we have to hide under the tables. And they would bring a crocodile coming into the classroom to act like if it was gonna be a school shooter. Should I go through that? As a Head Start student, should I go through that? The scaredness. I remember another time when I was in elementary, we had a school shooting drill, and one of the students was actually coughing a lot. After it all finished, my teacher came and said to the whole class, if this was a real life situation, we would have been dead. We are dying. This could be me. I could be next. I have dreams. I have goals that I want to do. And because of the people in public office are not doing anything, those dreams and those goals can easily be done. It could be me. It could be you. It could be your children. It could be your nieces. It can be your grandparents or your grandchildren. This isn't about if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because a school shooter doesn't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. They don't care about that. You have a choice to be on the right side of history, because we are suffering, we are dying, and we are pissed. I urge you to please vote yes on this. A lot of people do stuff and they vote for stuff and they care about stuff when it affects them or when they affect someone that they care. As you, as a person of a public office, that shouldn't be the case. You should care for every single children, no matter if that's your children, no matter if that's not your children. You should love them all and you should care for each and every one of them. Please vote yes, because we are dying and it could easily be one of us or it could easily be one of them. Please vote for them. Please fight for us, because we can't do all for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina Thies, I say that incorrectly, I apologize. Please approach the podium. State your name and county of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes. Sophie Liu, you will be next. And lower the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nina Thies. My address is 330 Sutherland Avenue, 37919.
Please, if you can, just get right into the microphone, okay?
Got it. Thank you. Is this okay?
That's better.
Got it. My name is Nina Thies. My address is 33,000 Sutherland Avenue. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, yes, thank you. I think that in wake of recent events, it's crucial to look at both the issue in hand and the proposed solution logically. The issue for me is gun violence, and the issue for this commission is whether or not to address the gun violence at hand. I don't mean the gun violence itself is not an issue for you personally. Rather, you as elected legislators have a decision that we don't. I know that every person in this commission cares about the well-being of Knox County students. That's why you're here, to serve Knox County. The solution to the proposed issue, regardless of the differences in that issue, is this resolution. I mention your position because I understand that there's more that goes into your opinion, that goes into your vote than just your opinion. I've worked with local campaigns and been very involved in politics since I was 12, and for the past couple of years, I've really struggled with the idea that my political identity might overshadow my personal identity. I sometimes worry that telling people that I work for a political party will grant the assumption that I'm not open to ideas from other parties or from farther opinions. For you, I assume it's the opposite. I haven't seen this addressed, but I think that if we do want to decrease the political tension in Knox County, we really have to further the idea that agreement and compromise between parties on a very polarizing issue must be accepted and not such a taboo topic. So I think that the way that you vote and what you vote on determines on how people categorize you, especially voters who are very party-centered. I think that if you claim to be a part of a party, then one day you vote on a resolution which your party might disagree with. So many voters might consider you a traitor or not as loyal to your party as you may seem, when in reality, the government is not about political parties. It's about governing the people and and having their best interests at heart. The key takeaway from my point here is to urge you to consider why you're voting the way you are on this resolution. That being said, I want to address the resolution itself. I felt a lot of things. I feel a lot of things in regard to the lives lost by gun violence. I feel heartbroken for the families who have lost their children. I feel disturbed that this is even conceivable for a person to do. And I feel genuine despair for students like me and like them who must walk into school the next day acting as if nothing has happened. What I don't feel is angry, not in relation to the incident itself. Initially, I was going to write a speech to convey my anger, but I decided against it because you know that we're angry. Everyone knows that we're angry, but I don't think that you know what we're angry about. We're not angry that that the incident itself happened. We are heartbroken. We feel so many things, but anger is not one of them. Our anger is directed rather at the people who claim to care, and who care wholeheartedly, but who don't act. I urge that if you claim that if you really, truly, honestly care, that you act in our best interest and that you vote. And if you don't, if you know that you won't act, that you don't say anything in regard to the 59,000 students in Knox County schools who must face that the next day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sophie Liu, please approach the podium. State your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes. After Ms. Liu will be Dane Shelton and Anand Patel.
Sophie Liu, 11237 Kingston Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee. Dear County Commission, my name is Sophie Liu, and I'm now in high school, but I was once an elementary school student, a kid wishing for a bright future. I remember after the Parkland shooting in 2018, I was in 5th grade in absolute shock over the horrors that could happen in a school. I had no idea that a place that I viewed as a sanctuary, where I spend hours a day in, where I've made everlasting friendships, was so unsafe. In 2018, I participated in a walkout as a 5th grader in hopes that someone would notice. Something would change and I wouldn't have to worry about never seeing my parents again, or my friends, or getting to live the rest of my life. And now as a high schooler, I think we've failed over and over again to promise the safety of our students, of the kids who are one day going to grow up and lead our world. It's been 5 years since I participated in my first walkout. Over these 5 years, I've heard the phrase, "enough is enough," more times than I can count, and yet I am unfortunate to report that nothing has changed. What's worse, it seems that school shootings are now more common than before. Let's take a look. Parkland was 5 years ago, so was Santa Fe. Uvalde was last year, and Nashville happened last month. I'm a student. I want to live, and I'm sure parents want their children to live as well. I want to see the change in our communities, and I want something to be done. I am horrified that the children of our generation have to worry so much about never growing up. I'm horrified at the lack of cooperation and direct action. When will we draw the line? What is enough for change? Look at the resolution we have here. All it takes is your vote and consideration to be the facilitator of change in our community. In my eyes, it is an absolute necessity to ask for stricter gun protection laws, and this resolution is the first step in ensuring safer learning environments for our students and our children. All I want to see is some form of action that is effective and meaningful. I'm not worried about the politics of this issue. Rather, I abhor at the reality of this situation. Seeing that I have the ability to advocate for those who are not here with us today, I am asking you, as the County Commission, to do one thing for us. Please use the power that you have to make sure our children can be safe at school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next is Dane Shelton, followed by Anand Patel, and then Gabriela Sanchez Benitez.
My name is Dane Shelton. I live at 1242 Levelview Drive, Knox County, District 3. I'm also a former junior commissioner, as well as a citizen and a student at Hardin Valley Academy. I'm also a human being with a life that matters, just as everyone else's does. Seems to me, however, that some people's lives are deemed less important than others because Throughout our country, including in our state, countless people have been victims of gun violence with very little consequence. These are people that will never see their families again. They were killed at the hands of someone with a gun. Mothers, fathers, teachers, students, and children. It pains me the most that I have to say children. Schools have been invaded with threats and destruction and pain, ultimately destroying the sacred learning environment that we hold close to our hearts. I am beyond angry. I'm outraged. I'm outraged that there are children who will never see their parents again. I'm outraged that there are parents who will never part their children's hair to kiss their foreheads again. I'm outraged that there is anybody that has to lose a child, much less to a gun. It makes me sad to think about someone grieving for a child that is lost to such a horrific fate. They have to live with the fact that their child was shot and killed in fear and panic, screaming and crying out for parents that could have never come to save them. But above all else, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that one day I'll set foot into my school building and I'll never leave. I'm afraid that my friends, my girlfriend, my teachers will never see the outside of school. I'm afraid that in the future, when I have children of my own, that they'll suffer the same fate. I'm not the only one afraid either. I know you are too. Everybody is afraid. I know that some of you have kids and some of you have grandchildren. Do you want to get the call that your grandchild's school was shot up and you are now a family member with a victim of gun violence? Do you want the moment your or anybody else's children have to step outside of school for the last time to be in a body bag? Do you want to never be able to see your child or grandchild again because somebody came into their school and took their life? I know I don't want any of those for myself or anybody else. And I'm not the only one either. We aren't the only people scared of losing our lives, loved ones' lives, or even the lives of strangers to the horrors of a gun. That's why I'm imploring you to use your power and vote in favor of a stronger order of protection law. It's necessary for stricter gun control and protections in this state and will be at least one step forward towards sanctity returning to the school environment. It won't take away guns, and that's not the point. But it will make it harder for people who can't be trusted with a tool like that to get one. I don't want to watch my children die at the hands of someone else because of gun violence. Do you? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Anand Patel, followed by Gabriela Sanchez Benitez and Sophia Chin.
Anand Patel, 11237 Kingston Pike. Commissioners, I'm here speaking today as a former junior commissioner, a high school student with a passion for politics, law, and spending time with friends, and a son of two loving parents. Parents who send me off on a daily trip Monday through Friday to 11237 Pike, my second home. Now, if you were to put this address into a GPS system, it would spit out Farragut High School. Farragut High School has been my support system for almost 3 years now. A place that has fueled my desire for activism, a place that has showered me with endless amounts of love and acceptance, a place that has prepared me for whatever future may lay ahead of me. But what if there was no future? There was no future for the 15 kids just like me massacred at Columbine High School. There was no future for the 10 kids lost at their place of education in Red Lake High School. There was no future for the 17 innocent children lost in Parkland, the 22 murdered in Uvalde, the 28 precious lives gunned down in Sandy Hook Elementary. All lives that could have very easily been just like me. And as much as I wish, these are not the only school shootings. We have seen recently with our very own Covenant in Nashville, Tennessee. On top of that, not 3 weeks later, a deranged gunman with a legally purchased and owned semi-automatic weapon murdered 6 people doing the dangerous task of depositing money in their checking accounts. Not 2 days ago, a shooter opened fire at a birthday party, killing 3 teens doing the dangerous task of having a sweet 16. And to top it all off, not a week after their first, Louisville, Kentucky experienced another mass shooting where 2 were killed after gunmen opened fire into a crowd at Chickasaw Park, a crowd partaking in the dangerous task of enjoying nature. The cold, hard reality is that while bullets, guns, and seemingly mass shooters are replaceable, the lives of these children are not. Hallie Scruggs, a 9-year-old attending Covenant School, can never be replaced by her mother. The bullets that took her life can. Javier Amir Rodriguez, a sophomore in a random Walmart in El Paso, can never be replaced. The bullets fired at him by a xenophobic extremist can. McKenna Lee Elrod, a 10-year-old trying to get an education at Robb Elementary School, will never be replaced. The bullet sprang from the legally bought gun that killed her can. With all of this, I ask the commission, the voice of Knox County, the voice of the students at Farragut, the students at West, the students at Bearden, Fulton, Austin East, Hardin Valley, and many more. I ask you to be the voice and support Resolution R-23-4-907. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Gabriela Sanchez Benitez, followed by Sophia Chin and Keith Britt.
Hello, Commission. My name is Gabriela Sanchez Benitez, 115 East Cottle Avenue. I'm here as a junior at Fulton High School. Like William Mendoza said, I was in pre-K when we first had to do a gun shooting drill. I was in 3rd grade when somebody in my community was killed at the hands of gun violence. Xavion Dobson, 15 years old, was killed outside of my high school. Out of respect to their families, I was not going to say the names of the 7 teens killed in 2021. 5 from Austin East, Anthony Thompson, Jamarion Gilead, Janariah Muhammad, Stanley Freeman Jr., Justin Taylor, and 2 from my own high school, Junior Santiago and Ricky Waters. I personally only knew Junior. He wasn't killed at school. Yes, bulletproof windows, armed guards may do something, but what happens outside of our schools? Who's gonna protect us outside of our schools? Junior had one of the sweetest smiles I ever saw, and he had dreams. He wanted the future of his life. They were deprived of their futures, deprived of what they could have become, deprived of their lives. Just last month, like some of the other teenagers have talked about, Tennessee experienced another tragedy. Evelyn Dickenhouse, Hallie Scruggs, William Kinney, deprived of their lives, opportunities, happiness, and the human right to life. We are said to be a country of opportunity, freedom, and rights. But what can be of opportunity when our lives are taken? What can be a country of freedom when we're tied down by fear? Fear that the next time we walk into a school, fear that the next time we walk outside, somebody is going to take our life. You all have the power to advocate further than we can. I can stand here and talk, but you guys can stand and talk to people that know people. I ask for you to vote yes on agenda item number 44 and show us that you care. Show us that you care for our futures. Show us that you care for our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sophia Chin. State your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Sophia Chan, 11237 Kingston Pike. I stand before you as one of 50 million students in the U.S., 50 million K through 12th graders, and I want to focus on 350,000 in particular. And I know that number might seem small in comparison, that's 0.7%, but it's not, because that number is infinitely larger than it ever should be. That is the number of students that have experienced gun violence at their schools since the Columbine shooting in 1999. And that number has no reason to be anything but 0. And I can reference Columbine here, and everyone will know it. But I could also stand here, if I were not constrained by time, for 10 minutes and list every school that has experienced gun violence since then. And many of these tragedies have never reached your ears, because we've gotten to a point where a student killing one other student at school is barely enough to even make the news. And it's for those students, for current students, for every student in the future that we're fighting for this resolution. The fight to be heard and the fight to keep us alive. The fight to end the senseless violence of school shootings, something called a uniquely American epidemic. I've never been more ashamed and distressed to call something American. This resolution before you would help us to prevent yet another tragedy. It would help us prevent another classroom from becoming a graveyard. How have we let schools, a place for us to learn and have fun, a place meant to always be safe, become a place where children are taking their last breaths, a place where teachers put guns in their classrooms instead of books? Students are tired of false promises, and we're tired of apathy. We're sick of party lines being considered more important than our lives. We're tired of hearing thoughts and prayers after every tragedy and still seeing nothing change. We want to see action because we are scared of who will be next. Is my school going to become the next Covenant? Are my classmates going to die? Am I going to see my community wrecked with grief and anger? I hope with everything in me that I never see what I just described, and that's why I urge you to vote yes on this resolution. Protect our students and protect our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Britt?
Hi, excuse me, Keith Britt, 506 Knowlton Drive. On March 29th, my 4-year-olds received active shooter training at their preschool, and I asked my daughter about it the next day, and this is her quote exactly. "Daddy, if there's a bad guy in school, we have to turn off all the lights, lock the door, hide in the corner, and be very, very quiet. Because if we make noise, the bad guy might give us danger." That is what my 4-year-olds are doing to prepare for what is inevitably going to come if leaders in our communities don't act on gun violence. I did 3 tours in Afghanistan. I'm an expert in urban combat, and I can tell you that what they're teaching my children to protect themselves from an active shooter is absolutely a placebo. It won't do a damn thing to save their lives. You get somebody with a high-powered, high-quality weapon that has a decent amount of training. They can go in there and they can kill 180 to 210 kids in sub 5 minutes before law enforcement arrives. There's people in our community that have already been affected by gun violence, and the rest of us are scared to death about what's going to happen. We were this close to a mass casualty event at Hardin Valley High School, and it feels like nobody's listening. And what I heard from these students is that's all they want from you right now, is somebody to listen and somebody to speak up for them. I understand how you are handcuffed by the Tennessee Code Annotated. The state legislator has completely taken away your ability to do anything at the local level. I'm not asking you to do something substantive here, but I am asking you to give these people a voice. And you have 2 resolutions before you from 2 ends of the political spectrum, and I'm begging you unanimously to pass both of those resolutions and communicate those to the state legislature. I think that would give these people confidence that you're listening. I think that would give parents at least a little bit of hope that something can be done to protect their children, and it would sure restore a lot of faith in our citizens that their leadership is looking out for them. Thank you and Godspeed.
Thank you. This concludes our public forum for agenda items. Next item is
Approval of minutes of the previous meeting.
motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Item number 7 is drives and roads, to be accepted as completed, acceptance of new county roads. A is Amber Vista Lane in Ambercrest Subdivision, District 8. B is Liberty Park Road. C is Heritage Ridge Lane. D is Providence Point Lane. They're in Heritage at Bluegrass, District 4. E is Finley Ridge Lane F, Oliver Hills Lane. G is Scouts Meadow Lane. They're all in Cane Vista, District 3. H is Bell Pond Avenue, and I is Cedar Break Drive. They're in Everett Woods, District 6.
Is there a motion?
Move to, well, we can, there's no reason we can't approve. Move to approve.
Second. So move to approve. Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay, with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Item number 8, consideration of closure of a portion of the right-of-way along South Gallagher View Road in Commission District 5 on second reading.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Schoonmaker, with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Item number 9, consideration of the closure of a portion of Roseberry Creek Lane in Commission District 8 on second reading.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Beeler, with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Item 10, line item transfers, total amount of $632,454.24.
Motion to move forward without recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Jay, with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Item number 11, budget amendments, total amount of $4,429.20.
Motion to move forward without recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Jay, with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Number 12, spread of record, the Knox County Mayor's order reappointing Jack Huddleston to the Board of Commissioners of the Luttrell Bain Corrington Utility District. 13 is a spread of record travel for the National Association of Counties, NACO, 2023 Legislative Conference. And 14 is a spread of record travel for the Tennessee County Services Association, TCSA, 2023 County Government Day Conference. Page 4, item number 23. Is Resolution 23-4-111 is appointing an individual to serve on the Knox County Sheriff's Office Employees Merit System Board of Directors. Term expires September 30th, 2026.
Commissioners, you should have the application packet with you. We have, pardon me, we have 6 applications. How this will work is I will start, I will start with our first one, Mr. Mike Brown, and move down our list.
I see that since I left here, they still haven't picked the sound system.
And I apologize, Mr. Brown. I was going to go through the way this is going to go first.
Well, best I can remember, you gotta eat this microphone before you
Yes,
can
you
be
do.
heard, which is not right. There's something can be done. I know it can be.
Okay.
Go back to the beginning.
So
My
we
name
will
is-
go through our list, and then I will allow some time for each applicant to speak to us, and then I will allow time for commissioners to ask any questions of the applicant.
Will you want me to introduce myself first?
I will allow you to do that. First up, Mr. Brown.
I'm retired Knox County Commissioner Mike Brown. I live at 7320 Twin Creek Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37920. And I'm here with a resume in for the position on the Sheriff's Merit Council. Ready to answer your questions.
I'll open the floor to my colleagues. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Brown? Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, why would you like to serve on the merit board?
Why?
Yes.
Well, I've been out taking a little vacation for a few years here, and it's time to get back into the swing of things. I've been on many different boards and so forth here with the county over the years and in the public service, and I believe I can do a good job at it. And with experiences I've had with management and not only in retail sales and in department stores and managing staff and buying and managed my own business in the life insurance business for 39 years, dealing with people on many different levels and also with clients on many different levels. I think I have the expertise to be able to handle most kind of, particularly after 10 years sitting up here in your chairs, but be able to handle most any kind of situation that comes along.
I have one other question. What do you think is the importance of the merit board?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble.
What do you think is the importance of the merit board? Why do you think the merit board's important?
Why do I think it's
Yes.
important? I think that it's best to have checks and balances in anything that you're doing, and I think this is one way that you can have those checks and balances to keep the road running right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, thank you for applying. This committee is kind of close to my heart, and so I'm going to have some questions for
Yeah, I know
everybody
it is
that's going to
for
be
you.
applying. So you do understand the purpose of the Merit Council.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think that is?
I think it's, as I say, for checks and balances on decisions that have been made, if they were made in the right way and in the right order.
Perfect. And you realize that it is for the officers, it is not for the sheriff?
Yes.
Not about the sheriff?
Yes.
Okay. We had a big change in the Merit Council a few months ago, and this is now supposed to be, quote, an apolitical committee. I personally don't believe that anything is apolitical. It's not apolitical at church or anything, and you as a former commissioner, I think probably can agree to that. So I need to make sure that whoever is going to be taking this seat is going to be able to stand up against differing opinions of the sheriff or any other politician or anybody that might have a personal opinion about it. You're going to be able to do what is right and stand on your own.
Well, in every aspect of the decisions I've made over the last 50-plus years, I've dealt with people on both sides of the political spectrum. And you take the position or the problem that's presented to you and you go from there. I mean, I feel like that I can be able to do that. I did it setting up here for 10 years, and I don't feel like there's anything changed since I left.
Okay, good. The grievance hearing is very crucial for our officers, for them to be able to have their grievances heard if they feel like that they've been wronged by the department. And this is a position where you should not be sharing your thoughts or opinions prior to the grievance hearings. That has happened recently, and it's been a concern to me. So that is able to be something that you're able to keep to yourself and wait until you actually hear all of the evidence. Is that correct?
Yes, but you also have to be able to do some investigating to find out, there's always two sides to every story.
Right.
And I think.
But you don't want to form an opinion until you have heard everything.
Well, no, but you got to have both sides of the story before you can form that opinion.
Right. And this committee at times can be a heavy lift. Are you up for the challenge?
I made a lot of heavy lifting up here before.
I'm sure you have. I do appreciate you stepping forward. It's a big committee. It's an important committee for our officers, and I appreciate you taking the time and being interested.
Thank you. I've had a little vacation now, so I'm ready to go back to work.
Well, good. You look rested.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for applying, Mr. Brown. Do you have any family members that work for the Knox County Sheriff's Office or the Knox Police Department?
No, sir, I don't.
And are you aware that the ordinance that governs the merit system prohibits any of the board members from engaging in any political activity, and including donations, campaigns, or other political activity? Are you willing to abide by that?
Yes, I am. I'm aware of it, and I'm willing to abide by it.
Thank you very much.
Does any other commissioner have any questions for Mr. Brown? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for applying,
Thank you for the opportunity.
and we'll see you next week. Next on my list is Michael Crichton. If you would please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Michael Crichton. My address is 7924 Laclay in Knoxville. Thanks for this opportunity to address the commission. My background is in law enforcement. I received my training at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I worked as a police officer and a deputy sheriff in Los Angeles and Riverside counties for 30 years. I worked all sworn positions from officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant. I worked patrol, corrections, court services, plainclothes investigations. I supervised 419 employees and managed a budget of $62 million. I administered annual performance evaluations for subordinate supervisors and conducted personnel investigations for officers resulting from complaints filed by the public. In addition to police work, I also performed non-typical police duties such as technical services, and I wrote the law enforcement grant for downsized military lease property as part of the Base Realignment and Closure Commission. The goal of the project was for the Sheriff's Department in Riverside, California, to obtain land from the downsizing of March Air Force Base for the multi-purpose, multi-jurisdiction training center. The end result was we were able to receive a deed for 186 acres of property with 10 buildings for the county's use at the cost of $1. Retiring from law enforcement, I put my degree in education to use, and I started to teach middle school. I thought I might have more of a positive impact on the young people by reaching them at an early age. Later, my first wife died from cancer, and I subsequently moved to Wyoming, where I still worked in elementary schools until 2020, when I moved to Knoxville. My outside activities include community service, such as the range inspector for the Registrar of Voters in California. I administered oaths of office, collected payrolls, and resolved issues at polling places for the 10 different polling places I was assigned. I also worked as a polling officer in Wyoming. Today, I am involved with the food pantry at Beaver Dam Baptist Church, and I am currently tutoring math to Mrs. Evans' fourth graders at Adrian Burnett Elementary.
Thank you. Commissioners, the floor is open for any questions. Commissioner Jay, I saw your light first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for applying, Mr. Crichton. I'll just ask you the same two questions. Do you have any family members that work for the Knox County Sheriff's Office or the Police Department?
No, I do not.
And are you aware that the ordinance, in order to be apolitical, it requires that each board member refrain from participating in any political campaigns? And are you willing to abide by that?
I do understand that, and I am willing to abide by it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions, Mr. Crichton. Why do you want to be on the Merit Board, and what do you think is the most important thing about the Merit Board?
I want to be on the Merit Board because I think I understand the work and the nature of law enforcement well enough. I have been in a supervisory investigative role, and I understand the different roles that are there. But I think that the most important thing is, so often the individual officers feel that they are working for a big behemoth monstrosity that really doesn't have their best interests at heart. They need a voice, they want to be heard, and they want to know that somebody is willing to sit down, listen to what they have to say, and understands their issues.
Thank you.
You good? Thank you. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Crichton, for applying. I appreciate it. And I do believe that you understand the role of the Merit Council is for the officers. It's not for the sheriff. That this is to be an apolitical committee, and you feel like that you're able to do that. Is that correct? I just want to make sure.
No, that is correct, yes.
Okay. Like I say, I think it's hard to be apolitical in anything, but we're going to try that. Grievance hearings, as you said, it's very important for officers to be able to feel like they're heard and to feel like that somebody has their back if they feel like they have been wronged. The goal of the Merit Council Committee is to hold those hearings if an employee has had to go through a very rigorous process to be able to get to the committee. I want to make sure that the people that are sitting on this committee are not already making up their minds because of maybe somebody they're talking to or somebody they have an allegiance to, that they are not hearing the grievances and being fair to the officers. Do you feel like that you can put out the outside noise and take care of that job?
Absolutely. I have a history of going my own way and not following the crowd, sometimes to my detriment in my career, but yes, I can do that.
We're probably in that same boat. Thank you again for applying. I really appreciate it.
Any other commissioners have any questions for Mr. Crichton? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for applying, and we'll see you next week. Next on my list is Denny Ford. If you would please approach the podium. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Carl Denny Ford. I live 5806 Thorgold Pike in East Knoxville. We're in the 9th Civil District, and I thank you for not appointing me the last time I was here. Because what it gave me the opportunity to do was go back and read the rules and regulations to more extent, some 50 or some odd pages of them. And as I sit out here in the audience, and was her lady's name Kelly Bumpus?
Kim.
Was that her name? My goodness gracious, her enthusiasm ought to inspire all of us.
Mr. Ford, if you wouldn't mind, there's a button
I'm
on the
sorry?
side so you can raise the podium up so we can hear you a little bit better. I don't want you, or you can do that.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little bit better.
Okay.
Here we go.
Golly, me being a preacher.
do have
I ought
to
be
get
able come across
right
stronger
on the
than
mic.
that. On my knees and pray. Okay, all right, I see. But what I bring to the table and what I want to emphasize to y'all tonight, you have my resume, and I have experience with the chairman of the board of directors of the 911 system and different county committees over the years. But my 33 years as a pastor has given me an awful lot of experience in dealing with people. And this board is there to be a place that the officers, and in this society that we live in at this particular point in time, the officers need to have a place that they know that they can come and get a fair hearing as an appeal, that it's an appeal board for actions that are taken on them by their employee, which is through the Knox County Sheriff and Knox County itself. And in that, I want us to be involved in recruiting. I want us to be involved in so many different things that I want to bring that excitement to the board that I don't sense that's been in it before. And someone new that's on the board can bring that. Someone that has ideas. I've been a dreamer all my life, and as a pastor, I don't know how to understand no, it can't be done. Always, it never has been done this way. Well, we can't do that because, don't tell me that, because there can always be a new way of doing things. And you all have created and rejuvenated the Merit Board by adding more people to it. So I'm asking that you appoint me as one of those people that's an outsider that has a history in law enforcement, has a history in public service, that can bring some excitement and some enthusiasm, but yet some trustworthiness to those officers that are out there in the field defending us each and every day. Now, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have pertaining to this issue.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Ford, for coming back. Two questions I'd like to ask you is why you want to be on the merit board again, and what is the most important thing you think about the
The
merit board?
most important thing the merit board does is there for the officers to have an appeal, to have someone listen to them that's independently, that's set up by this body to be able to be a go-between between them and their employer or the sheriff. And then the reason why I want to be there is what I've been trying to explain. I have a heart for service. I have the background to implement it and be fair, and I think I bring to that table something that they can, even as being a pastor, that the officers can trust that I'll make a decision on the facts and the facts alone that are brought to that table.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for applying, Mr. Ford. Do you have any family members that work for the Knox County Sheriff's Office or the Knoxville Police Department?
No, sir.
And do you understand that the ordinance is outlined to, in governing the merit system, and that it pertains to refraining from engaging in political activity while you are a board member if you're appointed?
Yes, sir, I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ford, thank you for being back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you've heard some of my questions, and let me say, I do appreciate you going back and reading the rules, because that is very important.
Yes, ma'am.
And I really appreciate you doing that. So you do understand that the purpose is for the officers, not for the sheriff, that it is a place for you to be apolitical,
Yes, ma'am.
and that you can be an independent thinker without any pressure from any entities.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Your grievance hearings, as I said, are very crucial for our officers, and some things that I feel like are still needing to be worked through. So I want you to be able to take the information that you will be presented, but not to form an opinion and share that opinion until after the officers have had the grievance hearing. Is that something that you're able to do?
I've got 33 years as a pastor learning how to do that.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me say one other thing, and I haven't asked this, and I'm not just picking on you, this just came to me. But we have got a staff and an executive director that's been there for 25 years. And so as the council, you will have ideas that you can present to the council, to your counterparts. But it's very important to be respectful also of the office of the executive director who has worked in that position for 25 years. And I just want to make sure that somebody that we're putting on there is able to do that.
Yes, ma'am. As long as she does her job, there'll be no problem about
Yeah,
that.
your 25 years, she's doing something right. Again, I appreciate you applying, coming back down here. It definitely shows your enthusiasm and your dedication to our officers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Oster. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On your resume, I noticed for 8 years you served on the County Commission's Jail Inspection Committee.
That is correct.
Did you volunteer for that, or did somebody volunteer you to serve on that?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that
Yeah,
had to
it
be a
was-
very-
it was- Yeah, that's when they built the new jail
Yeah.
and moved over. And I was involved in part of the planning of that, and yes, I volunteered to do
That had to be an
County Commission.
interesting assignment.
Yes, it was. It was.
Thank you, Commissioner Schoonmaker. Commissioner Jay, did you have an additional question? Thank you. Mr. Ford, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Next on my applicant list is Brock Getz. You would please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Anything you'd like to share with commission?
Hi, my name is Brock Gates. My address is 1139 Long Meadow Drive, Knoxville. I'm an attorney here in Knoxville, and candidly, I'm here for one reason. I have a lot of respect for the men and women in blue, and I'm here to preserve that respect and dignity as they should be afforded. My job as an attorney is what I do on a day-to-day basis, is look at rules and regulations and apply those to factual circumstances. I believe because of that, I'm a good fit, and I can bring that experience to the table insofar as helping the board make determinations based on the ordinance as applied.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'll open the floor. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it Gates, Mr. Gates?
It's Gates, thank
I
you.
apologize.
No, it's okay.
Where did you play tennis at?
It was a small university in Ohio where I grew up. It's called Bluffton University.
Okay.
So it was a D2 school.
Thank you for applying. I have the same two questions for you. Why do you want to be on the merit board, and what do you think is the most important thing about the merit board?
I want to be on the merit board, again, because I have a lot of respect for the men and women in blue. I grew up around men and women in blue. Half my family are officers in Ohio, which I guess doesn't really matter here, but that's what it is. And because of that, I want to make sure that I can preserve their dignity as it should be. I think the most important part of the merit board would then be able to apply those rules and regulations as written to factual circumstances in an unbiased way so that everybody gets their fair shake. And that's why I'm here.
And what did you think is the most important thing?
The most important part is the application of the rules and regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Mr. Gates. Thank you for applying. Appreciate it. You do understand the purpose of the Merit Council is to protect the officers, not the sheriff.
I do.
Okay. So we talk about that this is supposed to be an apolitical committee. And you heard my opinion about apolitical.
I have.
But it is important to do that. Do you feel like that you're able to do that?
Without a doubt, I can do that.
Okay. On grievance hearings, and you being an attorney, I would think that you probably understand this and have to do it, that you get your information on both sides, you're able to keep your opinions to yourself and not be swayed on one way or another.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And as far as working with the executive director to be able to use her, she is a great asset to the office because she has been there for so long. She knows more than probably any of us combined. But it is important to also be respectful of that office, I feel like. And I think that's important, and I need to say that to the other ones that I did not do. It just came to me, and I didn't have that in my notes. I apologize for that. But the grievance hearings are really important for our officers if they feel like they've been wronged. And just like I say, there's been some issues that we haven't been able to, I don't know if they're being handled the way that they need to be, and that's something we'll have to discuss later on. But for somebody coming on to it, I want them to be very aware and be very strong in being able to stand on your own.
I most certainly can do that.
Okay,
I can be
perfect.
respectful in doing that. I think a differing opinion is fine, but decorum matters at all aspects.
Correct. Perfect. Thank you again for applying.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Gates, do you have any family members that work for the sheriff's office or the police department?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Gates? Seeing none, thank you for your application, and we will see you next week.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next is Tina Watts. Ms. Watts? Okay, we'll see if she gets here before we're finished. Gerald Weller, if you would please approach the podium. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Gerald Weller. I live at 6224 Apache Trail, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37920. I have worked with the Knox County Sheriff's Office 14 years in the past. Related positions anywhere from jail duty, patrol, training, the head firearms instructor for the academy and patrol. From there on, after 14 years there, I went to the Department of Energy and worked in their security outfit for 23 years before I retired just last year. I have a I do strongly about being fair-minded toward the officers because they do have a hardship and they have a lot of responsibility. I believe that as far as promotions, we haven't talked about promotions much, but in my experience, maybe the best person didn't get the promotion that was deserved. So I would try to be as fair and impartial as possible. Serving Knox County is something I've always been involved in for the last several years, and I'd like to continue to do that in a fair and impartial way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, Commissioner Jay, I saw you first this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Weller, do you have any family members that currently work for the Knox County Sheriff's Office or the Police Department for Knoxville?
No, I do not.
And are you aware of the ordinance that prohibits you from engaging in political activity, and are you willing to abide by that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Weller, for applying. I have the same questions for you. Why you want to be on the merit board? What do you feel is important about the merit board? And then if you could also explain what the certified just is.
Okay. Basically, the reason I want to be on a merit board, I think, is the biggest responsibility they have is to protect the officers that are involved in a grievance or some type of coercion. Loss of employment, if they lose their employment, it'd be wise to find out why and if they have a legitimate reason to keep their jobs. What was the other question?
Why you think it's important, and if you could explain the certified just.
Well, I think it's important, obviously, because it's for the officers, a fair, impartial judgment as to the hearings that they may have a grievance and determine whether they are justified or not.
Okay, and your certification on just, if you could just address
I'm sorry,
that.
I couldn't.
You have a certification in just?
Yes, that was
Okay.
just a simulated firearm system that we used at the academy. It was like a screen where you had judgment calls that you had to make, life and death judgment calls.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for applying. I appreciate it. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You do understand the purpose of the Merit Council. I believe that you understand that it's for the officers, not for the sheriff. That is being a political committee, and you feel like that you can be an independent thinker when it comes to grievances and not form an opinion until you've heard both sides.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. And that the grievance hearings are very crucial for our officers to feel like that they're heard.
Yes.
Okay. And that you can work with the executive director along with the council to be
Yes.
respectful of that office also. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for applying. I appreciate that.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Weller? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for applying, and we will see you next week.
All right.
Hold on. Miss Tina Watts, did you happen to make it? Okay, maybe we will reach out to her. Commissioner Hill?
I have a couple of questions. I guess really they need to be addressed to the commissioners. This first one probably more to Commissioner Oster, since she has been on the merit board. Is it the role, Commissioner, of a merit board member to investigate?
The information will be given from the officer or his or her attorney, and then the sheriff will also give their information. They can investigate, but there's a limited scope of what the council can be investigating.
All right, because I did hear a couple of applicants say yeah, I can keep an open mind, but I'd have to investigate. So that kind of got my attention.
And maybe
One
they
thing-
were saying that they kind of wanted to hear both sides of it, and, which I'm fine with. I don't want to hear that they have made up a decision because they have a personal feeling about that particular officer or that particular case.
But it's not their role to personally go out
No.
and be asking questions
No.
and investigate.
No.
Okay, and the second question I have, and this really goes to one of our rules about political activity, one of our applicants was honest enough to put down that he's vice president of a local Republican club. So what do we do with that? I mean, how can you, and personally, I think it shows a position of leadership, and it's a good thing to be able to put down that you step up and, you help clubs out, but I see Commissioner Jay, you had.
Yeah, I can answer that. In the ordinance, it's actually very specifically spelled out that all board members, it lays out what apolitical looks like, and it essentially says, look, you can still vote, you can still go to political clubs, and certainly you have your own, personal political positions, but it prohibits participating in campaigns, donating to campaigns, and actively participating in other political functions beyond voting and attending a political, a civic political meeting. And the intention of that is that it takes people away from, in years past, there has been all kinds of accusations of people that are, for this one particular party or one particular candidate or the other, and it sort of stripped away, the sort of the basics of that and said, yes, you can participate in political clubs and you can vote and have it, but, to be somebody who's actively out there engaging and supporting, in this case, the direct connection point would be a sheriff. You can't sit on the merit board and go actively campaign for a sheriff's candidate. That would, obviously put you in one position or the other. So we worked very closely with our law department to craft it in which it was legal and constitutional, but it laid out some very specific actions. And so I'm happy to pull that up in more detail if you'd like.
Thank you. So I might just ask our law director then to hold an office then in a political club is acceptable.
Yes.
And I mean, I hope it is.
Yeah, under the ordinance, I don't have the numbering here. I need to start bringing a PC, but where it talks about the political aspects of it, it says that nothing in this part shall be construed to prohibit or prevent any such board member from becoming or continuing to be a member of a political club or organization and enjoying all the rights and privileges of such membership or from attending any political meetings. Such board members shall not be denied freedom in the casting of a vote. So,
Okay.
as Commissioner Jay said, it's more designed to prohibit active participation in specific political campaigns.
Gotcha.
It does not prohibit you from taking part in political clubs and organizations.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to move forward.
With no recommendation? Okay. Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Oster with a second by Commissioner Jay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Commissioners, I wanted to take a poll. Does anybody need to take a break? Yes, yes. Okay. We will be in recess until 7:15. Please make your way back to your seats.
Yeah, it is on our agenda. That's the one that I paid for mine myself. Yes. I paid for it. And the commercial rate. Yes.
And I think about selling it, taking some of the equity, have that be fun. But my oldest kid is director of community affairs.
Are you ready? Okay. That's all that matters. They're coming.
Good talking to you.
I did say something. I'll call our meeting back into order.
Item number 24 is Resolution 112. It's accepting the resignation of Steve Weiner, District 5 seat, from the Knox County Library Advisory Board and appointing an individual to complete the unexpired term of Steve Weiner on said board. Term expires July 1st, 2023.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation.
Second.
Who was the second? There were three. Okay. Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Schoonmaker, with a second by Commissioner Lee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Page 5, item number 28, Resolution 402 is adopting the Knox County Code Administration's and Inspection Department Schedule of Fees effective July 1st, 2023.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move forward without recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Frazier, with a second by Commissioner Oster. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. I had asked to have this pulled because I just wanted a little bit of clarification on, in the end, what is the amount going to be per, and I know when I ask per home that it depends on square footage and all of that, but just a rough estimate, just asking, knowing that even though our developers may support it, that in the end, costs, tend to get passed down to the
Sure.
homeowner. So if you could just kind of clarify that.
Sure, I'll be glad to, Commissioner Hill. Yes, we, in preparation of the budget this year, we were looking at that, and we feel like that at this point in time, we do need a fee increase just to kind of have our department revenue neutral for the services we do provide. And this fee, when fully implemented next fiscal year, will do just that. Essentially, we looked at there's kind of a matrix that we use, and essentially, they're the $100,000 to $500,000 homes are probably what's mostly built in a lot of our community. I did the analysis on that, assuming the home was 2,000 square feet, which is fairly common. That the $15 that we proposed this fiscal year would correlate to a $90 permit fee increase for that permit. Whereas, next year, assuming the ICC rate stayed about the same, it would be another $15. So at the end of the day, if things were to stay somewhat the same, we'd be looking at less than $200 per 2,000 square foot home valued less than $500,000 in fiscal year '24. So to your point, we want to be conscious of home affordability, but yet cover our costs that we do serve the development community for.
And I certainly think that's a reasonable request. What was alarming was the $15 per square foot I was looking at, and I multiplied that out, and I thought, that's thousands. So That's just an arbitrary,
Yeah, that's how we value the home, and then that valuation gets plugged into a chart, and then that chart defines the permit value. So it's not a direct correlation. There's another filter that goes on in there. Thank you.
Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, you're short on you may not be short on inspectors, but you sure could use some, correct?
We could, Commissioner, and it's funny you say that. That's one of the things when we met with the development community we wanted to do is as part of this fee increase, we would be looking to hire a couple of key staff in what we would consider to be the critical path process, which one is inspection and the other is probably zoning review, because obviously if we're charging more, we want to provide even a better service than what we currently do. So there will be some additional staff hired as part of this fee increase.
It's my understanding that the building community, no kickback from them. They actually would like to see more inspectors because as soon as they get their inspection, they can go into the next step. So hopefully this will work out. I'm for it, and hopefully we can get some funds coming in to hire those in personnel.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, I had some concerns just due to our housing shortage and the cost of housing going up, that these costs are going to be passed on as well to buyers. So it's my understanding, you said $90, but then you said less than 200. So I'm kind of confused. You said $90 a permit, then you said somewhere less than 200. So was there two price increases?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Lee. I should have been clear. It's a phased-in approach. We don't want to make all this adjustment in one fiscal year. So we are going up $15 per the square foot evaluation proposed July 1 of 2023. And then we're going to index the valuation, or essentially the second tier of that increase for the next fiscal year. So it would be a $90 increase this fiscal year proposed, and then another $90 approximately for the fiscal year 25. So it'd be broke out over 2 fiscal years.
Okay, so that's based on a 2,000 square foot home. What is the permit cost now, currently?
It's going to vary. It starts out at $490. Let me find that chart, Commissioner Lee. It starts out at, there's a flat fee if your house was, the fee is $490 for the first 100,000, and then each thousand thereafter you add $3. So it depends on the valuation of the home, and that's where we're trying to tie it to the building evaluation data of the ICC.
Okay, so how is that compared nationwide?
I'm sorry, ma'am, what's that?
How does that compare on rates nationwide?
Oh, we've talked to several of our builders locally, and they've told us that our permit fees are quite a bit lower than most of our peer jurisdictions. We have, what we do is kind of a package permit fee to where it's all included, whereas a lot of jurisdictions we looked at had more of an a la carte type situation. So the ones we looked at, the city, the town, and surrounding counties, we were the lowest in reference to the same square footage of a home in relation to the permit fee.
Okay, then I just have one question. Okay, so if this is to offset getting quicker inspections, so if you're going to up to basically $200 on a 2,000 square foot house, what happens if the inspections don't get quicker? What's the recourse? You're going to raise the price, but then the builders don't get their inspections quicker.
I think we were not going to do them any slower. What we would like to do is obviously we try to be within the same week of inspection. If someone calls, we try to be within 5 business days. Right now, we're a little outside of that. So I think with these new employees, we can be within that 1 week window, or that is our projection.
Okay, so there's no repercussions on the county if they don't get out there any sooner?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I mean, we can, and we've looked at using contracted inspection. If we do get behind, that is an option we can do. That, should we get really behind, we can use these fees to do some contracted inspection. But it's our goal to maintain an inspection within 1 week, working week, or 5 business days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Snowden, you did sit down and speak to the development community.
We did. We met with a lot of the home builders, the executive director of the home builders, Mr. Ashley Burnett, as well as a lot of the development community itself.
Okay, and I think they were okay with it.
There was no grave concern expressed to us.
I mean, I think we all have to realize that housing prices are up and prices are up on everything. So I appreciate you bringing this because we do need more inspectors, but we've also got to make it where it's revenue neutral and it's not costing the county for the developers to build. So you kind of have to make it work for the county and for the developers. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
And I want to just take a point of personal privilege, Madam Chair, just to brag on Mr. Snowden for a second. District 3 is loving a lot of stuff we're getting done over there, and that is directly because of Jim Snowden. And I told him I wanted to have a Jim Snowden day, but he told me I couldn't. So anyways, I'm saying it out loud that he needs a round of applause because this is the hardest working man in Knox County. And I'm sorry.
You're too kind.
I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schoonmaker, you good? Your light was on.
I was just going to say, Mr. Snowden, this, to be revenue neutral in this area of your jurisdiction, this is similar to every other county in Tennessee. I mean, you're not an anomaly doing this. Everybody else does the same thing, basically.
A lot of counties, we're an exempt jurisdiction, so we choose to do these inspections because we think we can do, to Commissioner Lee's point, we can do it a little better than the state can. The state, some rural counties don't have that capability and they do defer to the state. And I think if you would ask home builders in those jurisdictions, the services we provide are much, much greater than what the state would.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Frazier with a second by Commissioner Oster. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, Director Snowden.
Page 7, item number 41, Resolution 801 is approving the contract, repayment schedule, and promissory note on the 2008 advance made to the Knox County Community Action Committee, CAC.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move forward with no recommendation.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Schoonmaker with a second by Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Mr. Caldwell, I've got a couple questions for him. And I did ask to have this pulled off the agenda. Mr. Caldwell, when I read the resolution, I was a little bit concerned because of the year that the $2.5 million was, and of course the way it's listed in here, that the trustee authorized payment to cover, to go to the Knox County Community Action Committee. And my initial concern was of who was running the department in 2008 at the trustee's office. And so that's why I was concerned that, was this a loan to CAC, and was there a repayment schedule at that time?
So at that time, there was not a repayment schedule. It was
a loan. We refer to it as an advance just from an accounting standpoint. And the amount was 2.5. And ultimately, they have some cash flow issues or had at that time. And so we were trying to help them from that standpoint. So we did an advance. And then ultimately, a little after that, there was some damage to the Mobile Mills kitchen. We gave them a loan for that, and they repaid that, and that repayment ended this year. And so we come up with a way to move that payment over from, since the loan on the Mobile Mills kitchen is done, to just continue that payment, but let it go towards the advance, and then that advance should be paid off in about 20 years.
Okay, and then I understand that CAC made some partial payments on the 2.5 million. Were those credited as towards the loan amount, or was some of that towards interest?
It would be towards the loan. At the time, and Perry, if I'm wrong, he'll stop me. Well, there was no interest on the advance. Okay. And so we did the interest based off going forward from this point.
Okay, and then because we've had to carry this on our books for so long, for 15 years, was the comptroller or the treasury notified, or did they spot this? And
yeah, they're aware, and an advance is not something that's uncommon, but we did get notification, I think a couple of years ago, from the state saying that if payments are not being made to lower the advance amount, then you need to write that advance off. And so they let us know that they wanted to start seeing that advance balance being reduced.
okay, and then on the actual repayment schedule, how was the interest rate of 1%? Who came up with that cost? Because are we currently, our overnight rate is what, 4.9%? That if we'd had 2.5 million in the bank, we would be getting 4.9% interest on it?
Gotcha. Makes sense. We just charged to CAC the same rate that we charged Circuit Court for their ARPA loan back when that happened. And I guess when we negotiated this was long before the interest rates went up as well.
Okay, so this has been a work in progress. Okay, that's
Correct.
why I was wondering, because that was the same rate we charged.
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
We did this back summer, early fall.
okay. And do you feel like they'll be able to repay the loan?
Yes.
Harry's shaking yes, so that means that's a done deal then.
We think they had the ability, probably even before this, but we had to walk them through that process to get them to a place of comfort, and we feel that we're there now.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the information on this.
Is there any more discussion for this item? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Schoonmaker, with a second by Commissioner Daly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 42, Resolution 901, is approving a quitclaim deed between Knox County and the Industrial Development Board of the County of Knox for the transfer of property involving the Knox County Sheriff's impound lot property on Bernard Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay, with a second by Commissioner Frazier. I do want to make a note that Commissioners Hill and Daly asked to be added as co-sponsors.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I sign on?
yes. Would full commission be okay with everyone? Sounds good. Full commission. Director Caldwell, did you have something to say, or were you just in preparation?
I was going to
approaching the
say that
that, Commissioner Beeler had asked me to let you know he wanted to sign on, but he had to leave.
Thank you.
Ultimately, we appreciate your support on this. This has been a good effort, and we're not done, but we're getting close.
Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to is to approve. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
Page 8, item 46, Resolution 905 is encouraging Governor Bill Lee to adopt and fund in the state budget the following 4 recommendations of Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally concerning school safety in Tennessee: securing windows and glass in school buildings, magnetic locks on doors, centralized and modernized camera systems, and armed guards.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Schoonmaker with a second by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the opportunity on Friday morning to meet with Lieutenant Governor McNally, and I presented our resolution to him, and he was very appreciative of that. In our conversation, he said that he was working with the members of the Senate and with the House to see if the appropriations for all 4 items could be accomplished in this budget year. And he said, I'm not at this, as of Friday, he wasn't sure about that. But if it wasn't accomplished, it would definitely be accomplished next year. He did say that members of the Senate and the House were going to be working, I believe it's this coming Sunday, on some of these budget issues that are behind the budget to make sure that they can move forward with this, because this is very important for our children. And there's also another kind of a companion bill that's going through that passed the state Senate. It's Senate Bill 274. That's already passed 33 to zip. And it deals with 3 different amendments that addresses the type of equipment that needs to be installed in our schools and the type of drills that'll have to be mandatory, that they'll have to take place on a yearly basis. And the House, I think, is supposed to take up their bill, companion bill 322, this week. So.
Thank you. I was under the impression that House bill passed on April 6th. But I will look back. Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Schoonmaker, since you sat down with Senator McNally, this is talking about securing windows and glass in school buildings. But just like what happened in Covenant, that is a private school. Now, is this going to be considered all private schools, and then also where they have, say, Mother's Day outs or preschools that's actually at churches or different buildings as opposed to school buildings?
Well, in the Senate bill, they're addressing both public schools and public charter schools. I think there's actually going to be, I was trying to find it here, on another, also they are referencing a church-related school and a private school in the definitions.
Okay, okay.
And they have, apparently, there is some kind of film that can go on glass that makes it so you can't do what happened in Nashville.
Okay, good, because I know that there's a lot of the Mother's Day Out and preschool programs that's recognized by the state, so I wasn't sure how they were going to fall underneath there. Also, on the last, when it says armed guards, and that to me sounds like it's military, is it actually going to be SRO officers or SSO officers, and they've just put armed guards, or?
Well, that was actually the caption, the way the letter was written to the governor. So what it actually means is school resource officers.
Okay, so an SRO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In other words, when Randy McNally sent his letter to the governor, Bill Lee, that's how he just put it in 4 captions, and then each caption had a breakdown.
Okay,
And
okay,
just for consolidation, Jill designed it this way just to make it, because that's the high points.
okay, that's fine. When I saw that, I was like, are we going to hire ex-military and put them there, or, okay, okay. Just curious about that. Thank you.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my question as well, the language of armed guards. I was just wondering if we could be more consistent with language used in most of the school legislation, which is security resource officer. I don't know if you would be agreeable to a friendly amendment there.
Here's the way that it's listed, excuse me. And this is Randy McNally's words. While we've made great progress in making sure our public schools have access to school resource officers, I believe we can do more. Reports indicate that the shooter at Covenant chose the school because of its minimal security. If we can ensure that all schools, public and private, have armed guards, we will be able to cut down on these events significantly. So we have armed guards in our schools right now, in our Knox County schools. Correct?
Yes, but they're security resource officers.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just a
just- it
stickler
means-
about
it means that-
wording
that-
and legislation, kind of just aligning
Yeah,
if we
I
can.
think what they're trying to say is it's somebody who's trained how to use a firearm, as opposed to just somebody who doesn't have anything.
Anybody else have any discussion? I had a question, Commissioner Schoonmaker. I know it is important for all these security measures to be enforced in all school buildings. Is there a security audit that would take place? Of course, this would definitely go forward with new construction of school buildings, but, how do we know? Some schools may already have magnetic locks on doors. Is there anything like that you know of that's in the works? As just a security audit, or at least the money for that to go to each LEA to perform the school security audit on every school in the system?
Okay, in the Senate bill, they talk about, talk about security systems, visual recording systems, cameras, communication systems, and how to interact with the 911 people. They will also, each school, safety team, private school, and church-related school shall conduct at least one armed intruder drill, incident command drill, and emergency safety bus drill. And then it spells out what each of those 3 items, what you have to do.
Okay, so there's not specifically something that says put forth money to each individual LEA to have a security audit done on all schools?
Yeah, I believe they'll handle that when the Senate and House members are going to be able to get together and discuss the final budget.
Okay,
That's my understanding at this point in time.
okay,
I mean, things
Good.
could change tomorrow.
Right.
But
okay. Thank you. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a great discussion, but as security personnel would like to say, blue slips sink ships. So we really don't need to know which school is what. And you don't let the bad guys know what's going on. I trust that our school system is doing the right thing. That being said, I know some security measures has been done. So blue slip sink ship, I don't think that we need to request what school's getting what or anything like that. We just need to be observant, can't even say the word, ourselves.
And Commissioner Daly, that was not my intention. It's more to eliminate any kind of deficit in security that one school building may have where the one down the street may not, and to focus our attention there. Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think if we're going to be a commission that's going to send this to the state, I think each commissioner needs to know how it's going to play out. I don't need to know their security plan. That's the school and the school system's responsibility. But I do need to know, are we having, like I say, are we going to have military people that are going to be there, or if it's SRO officers? I mean, we have to have some specifics when we sign on to things. So that's my, Madam Chair's having a little problem.
It fell through. Hey, look. Commissioner Daley.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Oster. Sometimes I think we get ahead of the horse before the cart before the horse. And I think these two resolutions are good resolutions, but we don't know what the outcome is going to be next week. You know, it can change tremendously between now and next Monday. So I agree, you know, I would like to wait and see what's going on before I make a decision, okay? The next one coming up, I got a heartburn about it because I don't know what they're going to do down there. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Madam Chair, may I speak? Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up, Commissioner Daley, because I wasn't going to say this. I really was kind of teetering on whether I was going to say this or not. But I think I'm going to. I don't have a problem with the resolution, and let me say how impressed I was with our students coming down and speaking, and other people that are speaking about gun safety and our kids and our kids' safety. I would rather have seen a resolution like this maybe come in May or June. I kind of feel like that these resolutions and the law should have been done years ago. And I don't want to jump into a political battle. And I almost kind of feel like that's where we're at right now. And we really haven't even taken a breath to really respect the families that have just buried their loved ones. And so for me, it's not a political thing. It is definitely a safety thing. But that's where I'm having a little heartburn about it even being on the agenda right now. I'm not saying that I don't agree with it. I don't want this to be a political, fight. And I feel like it's going to be, and it doesn't need to be at the expense of anybody's life. And so I agree with you on kind of having the heartburn with it right now.
Testing. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little confused about the conversation about timing. Both item number 46 and item number 48, they're statements. I mean, we have no control over what the state does. We have no control over what the state allocates. We have no control over what the state funds. And all of our public schools are state schools. We just operate and administer them on a local level. So these two resolutions are just statements saying, on 46, if you think Governor McNally is on the right track, and this commission wants to make a statement, this is a political statement. This is an opinion of this body. And number 48, if you feel like Governor Bill Lee is on the right track, these are just two resolutions. Now, they are likely going to finish their session by next Friday or Saturday. So if these get approved tonight as approvals, then, well, no, they can't be approved until next Monday anyway. I mean, the session's going to be over by the time anything is actually taken in formal action, and a resolution would be signed by our chair and law department and mayor and sent to Nashville. So the sessions, anything they're going to do is going to be done well before they even get the statement. I think this commission body has to just decide, do you want to agree with these two statements? And as an opinion of this body, do we feel like they're on the right track? And if so, I wouldn't wait until next week or any month thereafter. Just, make your voice heard tonight, because it has no bearing on what they're going to do between now and next week. At best case scenario, after their session's done, they're going to get a copy from us a week later, and whatever they're done is done. So I would encourage us to just go ahead and take action on both of these tonight and make your voice heard. If it's a unanimous vote, it gets approved, it stays on consent next week, and then we'll send a resolution over a week after they're out of session. If it doesn't get unanimously approved at either one of those, then we'll move it forward to next week and do another vote. And to me, that I think just pushes the ball down the road and makes it a bigger political issue. I think these are pretty simple resolutions. They're pretty simple statements, and I would just encourage us to take action tonight on both of them.
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I saw what Senator McNally's effort to notify the governor that we needed to take action quickly, one of my thoughts was because Senator McNally represents citizens in Knox County, a small portion. And I thought, here's somebody who's wants to go forward with taking some immediate action and to get the attention of the governor. And he's doing it for not only the kids in Knox County, but for all 95 counties. And I think that when they try to do a letter to the governor, you try to make it as simple and concise as possible. There was never any legislative intent to have armed military troops in any schools. It's simply saying that they would have school resource officers who are armed. There's a caption in the Senate bill that actually lines out what the private schools and church-related schools, what their course of action is. As far as by October 1st, they have to submit to the local law enforcement in their community what their actual action plan is. And every October 1st, from that point forward, they have to submit that plan so law enforcement knows exactly what's going on with that appropriate church-related school or private school. I think it's pretty detailed on what kind of drills they want to have, but we need to do something. And I just thought this was a great way to support our state senator and our lieutenant governor at the same time and do something that is a positive effort, hopefully to save the lives of some of our children.
Thank you. Commissioner Lundy?
Thank you. I just want to say, I know it may be a little uncomfortable because of party lines or whatever, people's beliefs, but I think with both resolutions, I think we're just saying, let's do something. We know that it's up to the state to make that decision. I mean, I will support this resolution that's before us now. I may not agree with everything, but I think we have to just stand in what we believe in and support the children, and hopefully the state can work it out. Because that's what our constituents are asking. They're not asking for a Democrat or a Republican to have their own opinions. It's about saving these kids and saving our communities. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, the motion on the floor is to move forward, is to approve by Commissioner Schoonmaker with a second by Commissioner Lee. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 47 is Resolution 906, requesting the Knox County Planning Commission to recommend amendments to Section 2.20 of the Knox County zoning ordinance regarding the definition of swimming pool.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion?
I will,
Yeah, why did you, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you want to let us know why this was what
I
you
will.
wanted to bring before us?
yeah, and codes are still here back there somewhere. This is you got a picture here of a hot tub that's been sitting in a subdivision for 5 years. And we have asked, Codes has gone and asked them to move it to the side or back of the house. And this is the first thing that the neighbors, and you driving by, that's the first thing you see is this hot tub. Well, in our codes, we have no definition of a swimming pool, hot tub, how it's to be operated, and maybe where it's supposed to be set or put. So what we're asking, after meeting with Mr. Snowden and Codes and the law director, we're asking planning to go and look at it with the definition. If you were to read the caption there, Mr. Moyers, Law Director Moyers, has come up with what a definition of a swimming pool, 24 inches of water, you need to read it. So what this will do, it will send it to planning. Planning will review it. They'll make a suggestion whether to do it or not to do it. Then it comes back to us for our vote, our opinion. Mr. Snowden, am I correct?
That is correct, sir. Right now, the way the ordinance is worded, a swimming pool or hot tub is kind of categorized the same thing. It has to have 24 inches of water in it, and with this structure being tarped over, it's not it's essentially construction material. So it's a little bit of a gray area, and your proposal would clarify that.
And hopefully the proposal will come back to where it has to be operated. It has to be operable. And I don't know if we can keep somebody from having a hot tub in the front yard, but at least we know that it's going to be operable. Okay. Mr. Law Director, is that correct to
Yeah,
your knowledge?
The current definition of a swimming pool is any structure designed for swimming or bathing that has at least 24 inches of water in it. So what we're asking the Planning Commission to do is to say that it's any structure designed for swimming or bathing that has the capacity to have at least 2 feet of water in it, irregardless of whether it actually has the water in it or not. So under the new definition, this hot tub would qualify as a swimming pool, and under our regs would have to be in the side yard or the rear yard of the home, like any other swimming pool.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to lighten the mood a little bit, can anyone tell me what recreational bathing consists of?
Well, I think it's swimming. You have a bathing suit, not a swimming suit. I guess you could be the one.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Daly, I'll be supporting this. I'm actually dealing with a with a codes issue in my district right now, and that I've got to go to the law department about and get some things changed, so I appreciate you making it a little bit more narrow for us, that we were able to hone in on some things. It's a problem for other neighbors.
Commissioner Hill?
Just one comment on this specific address that they're talking about. And maybe this is the first house when you pull in. I mean, there's no missing it. Even if they were to move it to the side of the house, it would still be equally as ugly, because it would still just be sitting there in your face when you pulled in. So I don't know. Can we make them put a fence around it or something? Just asking. Perhaps you can talk to Codes about that.
Any more discussion regarding this item? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve by Commissioner Daley with a second by Commissioner Oster. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 48, Resolution 907, is urging the state legislature to support Governor Bill Lee in his executive order and recommendations to the state legislature regarding a stronger order of protection law.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Lundy with a second by Commissioner Durrett. Any discussion? Commissioner Daley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Commissioner Jay said, this will probably be gone before we get a week from today. As one who has purchased shotguns in the past, a more effective, comprehensive, timely background check, tell you what, I can't leave that building until they check me. I got my driver's license, they run the check, and before I can walk out of Bass Pro or wherever, I've been checked. So I'm not sure what's more instant, maybe at gun shows. I don't know, I don't think they do them at gun shows. Order of protection, as I've been told by a few lawyers, is just a piece of paper. Commissioner Lundy, can you help me out on, do you know what the governor wants to do? I've been Googling it, and I can't find anything that Governor Lee's Executive Order 100, anything about protect. Can you know anything about it?
Can I defer to you, Chair Mormon?
Okay. The Executive Order 100, and I have it right here if you want to read it, basically it's enhancing protective procedures for the purchase of firearms, and it does reference those where there are loopholes, such as gun shows. And if I can find it, we named them specifically. It says, this is the meat of the executive order. All entities with obligations to report relevant information that is accessible to the Tennessee Instant Check System shall ensure that it's entered within 72 hours. For this order, information is criminal history and court mental health information. That's new. Administrative Office of the Court shall ensure the subsequent courts of the state accurately, completely, and timely submit relevant information to either the TBI's FlexCheck database or directly to the TBI for entry into the aforementioned check system. The TBI shall review the TICS to determine how the process for submitting, and then it goes into the procedure. And so that's the executive order. And also, the stronger order protection law came out of his press conference that he gave when he first read this executive order. And it's more of to ensure that those, and it goes back to that mental health, temporarily don't have access to any weapons that could, if they are in a state to where they could harm themselves or other people.
So this resolution looks like it has two things, the instant check system and order protection. It does not, is it covering those two things, which I see this resolution doing, which if that's the case, I have no problem with it at all. But is it covering the whole governor's executive order 100, which is the red flag laws?
No, his executive order does not have anything about red flag laws. He urged recommendation. He recommended things to the state legislature to look into quote-unquote red flag laws. But the executive order itself does not mention those.
Mr. Law Director? Orders of protection, I guess you've done them in the past. Can you walk, seriously, really, when I did the Attorney General's Academy, we walked into a room of order of protection, and it was file cabinets. Just file cabinet after file cabinet after file cabinet. So Will you walk us through what an order of protection is?
Sure.
And what it really does?
Well, an order of protection is, all right, an officer cannot generally arrest a person for a misdemeanor unless the officer witnesses it. Okay, so if somebody's stalking somebody or harassing somebody, unless the officer witnesses it, if it's a misdemeanor, the officer can't do anything about it. The order of protection allows the officer to arrest a person who is in violation of the order on the spot. So it gives the police a bit more leeway to keep away people who the court have adjudged need to be kept away. Typically, those are stalking type cases, domestic violence type cases. There are only certain classes of people who can get them, and that's generally domestic relationships. So former boyfriends, girlfriends, former spouses, sometimes family members. It's not just general people, generally speaking. And under federal law, if an order of protection goes down against a person after a hearing on the merits and findings by the court, then the person is required to give up any firearms that he has for, I think, a year's period of time, or at least during the period that the order of protection is in effect. So they have to sign a document and bring their weapons to the sheriff upon the order of protection being granted against them. So that's how that works. If you have any other questions, does that explain it more or less?
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
I just have some technical questions about the resolution. If Commissioner Lee wants to go next, it's up, whatever. Me, her, me? Okay, thank you. In the public forum comments, did I pick up that one of the actually wrote this resolution, or did I misunderstand that? Was this written by one of our former commissioners, or? I'm seeing a yes, it was, so I did hear that
Janice.
correctly?
Carolyn?
This resolution was written by me, but some of the language has been borrowed from nonprofit Voices for a Safer TN, so it is not just the language of high schoolers. This is coming from a legit nonprofit.
And then, go ahead and state your name for the record.
Sorry, Caroline Schoonover, Knox County.
And stay there for just a second. So, okay, well, it's my understanding when they say that the number one cause of death of our children, it's actually automobile accidents. It's not gun violence. And so that's why I was wondering where this came from. And then where did the 22% of gun purchases in Tennessee are made without a background check? How could you even possibly come up with that number? Did you do the research on that, or was this from that website?
This is from Voices for a Safer TN, but first of all, the leading cause of death of our children in the United States as of this year is gun violence. Mm-hmm. Recently surpassed automobile accidents.
Okay, and then the 22%.
Yes, sir, that came from research done by Voices for a Safer TN.
Okay, thank you. And then, let's see, where did it say here? You're saying 100% of the, did I read this right? You want to have background checks for everybody that purchases a firearm, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for instance, if, I'll pick on Commissioner Daly. Suppose Commissioner Daly has an old beat-up shotgun that he wants to sell to his nephew for $50. He's got to go get a background check on his nephew?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then in the, I guess this would be to the sponsors of the resolution, in the letter, excuse me, the You said it was a Executive Order 100.
Mhm.
Was there legislation attached to that executive order that's currently going through the Senate and House of Representatives?
For the particular executive order or for his recommendations? No, because in his right as the executive of the state, he can issue executive orders.
That's true, but usually there's companion legislation that they'll go into all kinds of details on things. Just like the previous one, there was a Senate bill attached to how to go from A to B to C to D. But anyways, I just
Commissioner Schoonmaker, if I can make a correction, the background checks is for, as it says in the resolution, online sales at a gun show or from an unlicensed dealer.
Well, he would be an unlicensed dealer.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you. I think it's important for us to not get into the weeds and debate every part and piece. The resolution is really clear. It says, the Commission of Knox County hereby urges our state legislature, just urges our state legislature to support Governor Lee in his executive order, empowering the Tennessee Instant Check System to conduct more effective, comprehensive, and timely background checks of those potential purchasers and firearms. So this whole resolution is to encourage our state legislatures to support the governor. That's the whole purpose of this. Doesn't get into the minutia of gun laws or background checks or any number of 1,000 other things that we could debate on for the next 60 days. It urges the state legislature to support our governor in the executive order that he issued, plain and simple. I really encourage us not to go down the rabbit hole of debating every little part and piece.
Okay, Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a comment. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but I will say as a criminal defense attorney that convicted felons aren't allowed to have guns, but they get guns. So anybody that wants a gun, if they want a gun, they can get a gun. Laws don't keep guns away from people. So I have, am putting this in the hands of a court. If you want to talk about orders of protection, people come to this courthouse every day, accuse their boyfriend or girlfriend of assaulting them. Automatically they get an order of protection. And then these cases, a lot of times they get thrown by the wayside. It's just couples getting into a dispute. I would not want to say that a court or some kind of body could take away our gun rights, because that is not going to be, the states that have the toughest gun laws have the worst violence in our country. That doesn't work. So I would not support this.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Moyers, could you answer a question for me? On his executive order, right now I know as it stands, HIPAA doesn't allow a psychologist or a psychiatrist to report a situation.
That is correct.
Is, under this executive order, is that going to change that? Or are they still going to, they still don't have to report to?
I'm not exactly sure what the governor means by the language that Commissioner Durrett wrote. I understand I wasn't in every court.
Right.
The kind of cases that I dealt with that would involve mental health would be conservatorships. Very rarely would I think that information from a conservatorship would be helpful in a background check situation, because they generally involve people who are very elderly.
Right.
Occasionally you get somebody who's younger, but I don't know too many, at least in the Chancery Court, I can't think of too many situations that I dealt with where I would have had a situation where I would have had information that I would report. And that's not to say there might not be other courts. When I think about it now, actually, we used to, when we still had Lakeshore, which is lamentable that we don't, I did used to do involuntary committals on a regular basis. And I don't know whether reporting the information of persons that we committed to Lakeshore to the state background check system would be a violation of HIPAA or not. I know those hearings were held in chambers. They were not in public court. So I think they were imbued with privacy considerations that would make it problematic to report them to the state. HIPAA is a federal statute. And so while it might be laudable to make an exception to HIPAA for information held by, say, the FBI, you get into serious questions about privacy at that point, that wholly apart from gun violence and gun regulation. We have decided in this country that medical records are to be held strictly confidentially. So we're talking about a debate that would have to go to the halls of Congress, frankly, for mental health information to be included in background checks, to be acted on, I'm afraid.
I didn't assume that it was going to with it being HIPAA, but I just, wanted to make sure. I mean, obviously, that's an issue if somebody is having a mental crisis with, guns, but that's not our role. I do agree with Commissioner Jay that we don't need to go down the rabbit hole, and I'm also going to fall back to his comment that he said, we accept it and we move it on, or we don't, and we stop. I have to agree with Commissioner Lundy. My point that I was trying to make, and maybe I didn't make it eloquently enough, I don't want this to get wrapped up in politics. And this is exactly what it's done. It's nothing but political posturing. And I just want it to be meaningful. That's my point. Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care. It just needs to be fixed. So that's my point.
Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Jay, you created a monster. I am proud of you guys. I really am, stepping up and taking a stand. But sometimes there's things that's farther out there that you don't know the consequences of it. And it's just like me. I'm going to probably be voting no. I wished it would have been no recommendation so we can see what's going on and vote on it Monday. And they can change the motion. It's up to that. I'm not going to make that motion. But I am so proud of you guys that you're taking a stand. Hopefully you're taking a stand by watching your other students and reporting that to your SROs. You got a relationship with your SRO? You need to have a relationship. All of I know quite a few of the SROs in the elementary school and the high school. And when I go there, they have trying to build a relationship with you guys to say, if you hear something or you see something, you say something. That's the most important part. You hear, you see, you tell someone. That's the toughest part, is telling someone is the toughest part. I am so proud of you, and if I vote no on this one, don't take it that it's sad what this world's coming to. I've got the Bible verse for next week, and the Bible verse that I'm going to have Drew to put on that big screen is to me, it speaks volume of what this country and this world has become on that. So, guys, you're great. Like I say, Commissioner Jay has made you guys to think, to be a part, to be involved. And sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Again, I'm so proud of you. I really, really am. Thank you. Get a relationship with your SROs. Make sure they know your name. Okay?
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. given that it doesn't seem to be unanimous approval of this, and the only other action would be to fall back to moving forward without recommendation, I wonder if the sponsor and the second would consider amending their motion to move forward without recommendation, because we're going to be there anyway. Instead of taking 2 steps, just take 1.
I would like to change my motion to move forward without any recommendation. Thank you.
And I agree to that. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in, the motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. 1 no. Okay. That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 49, ordinance O-23-4-101, is to amend the Knox County Code, Chapter 10, Article 1, in general, Article 2, 2018 International Building Code, IBC, Section 10-32 amendments, Article 3, 2018 International Residential Code, IRC, Section 10-57 amendments, Article 5, 2018 International Property Maintenance Code, IPMC, Section 10-92 amendments, and Chapter 30. Article 3, 2018 Life Safety Codes, LSC, Section 30.57, 30 through 57 amendments, and to repeal and replace Chapter 30, Article 2, 2018 International Fire Code, ILC, Sections 30-32 amendments with revisions to comply with the Tennessee State Fire Marshal's Office standards. This amends ordinance O-18-10-101, adopted November 19, 2018, and establishing Section 10-2 previously reserved. This is on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Motion to send no recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Daly, with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden's here, and he can introduce, they've been here for 3 hours and 22 minutes.
They have, and they make me look good every day, and I appreciate that. We've got our fire marshal and deputy fire marshal here, as well as our manager of building inspections, and Ms. Kim Jarnigan that runs that office up there. So they make me look good every day, and that's not easy to do.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jim, did we accept in 2019 the 2018 International Building Codes by resolution?
We did. We adopted, I think it was November of 2018, or maybe
19.
December, November, December, the 2018
Right.
ICC codes. And since at that time the state had not adopted the 2018, they have since adopted it, and there are some things that they have in there that we are less stringent than, and by rule, we cannot be less stringent than the state. So that's one of the reasons why we're back here with this adoption, is to correct those issues, as well as just over the last couple of years, we've identified some things that we want to improve in our interpretation, and so we've addressed those as well to just make it a little better process.
So we're maintaining the same standards as the state?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, nothing less than that?
Correct, we cannot, and the way our code stands today, we do have a couple of things that we're less stringent than, so we obviously have to bring that standard up to comply with state requirement. So.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 50, ordinance O-23-4-102, is amending the Knox County Code, Chapter 54, Roads and Bridges, by adding a new Article 5 to provide for county enforcement of Planning Commission conditions regarding road improvements imposed on subdivision approvals. This amends Knox County Code, Chapter 54, establishing Article 5 previously reserved on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move forward with no recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Frazier with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Commissioner Daly?
Yeah, just for explanation purposes, Jim, and maybe the law director, tell what this is about.
Sure, and I'd be remiss, Mr. Moyers has been great to deal with. He's helped us shepherd this through the process. As you know, we've had a recent issue or a situation arise where it was determined that we didn't have the legal authority to enforce Planning Commission recommendations for off-site improvements outside of our jurisdictional boundary, the Knox County. So this ordinance will correct that error and allow us to enforce off-site Planning Commission recommendations in not only the town of Farragut, but also on TDOT, state-maintained roads. In addition to that, we're proposing that this ordinance provide Knox County Engineering the capability of entering into an MOU with the applicant and allowing us to manage the design, right-of-way, and construction of those improvements. We feel like we're just better suited for that. Developers are great at greenfield development. We're really good at, building roads and widening roads, and we just want to kind of align our strengths with that. So that this ordinance will address those two topics.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Director Snowden. We have one person who has signed up for public forum open topics, Mr. Calvin DeBrell, saying consistent with our public forum ahead of time, I will keep it to 3 minutes. Please state your name and county of residence.
My name is Calvin DeBrell, 5201 Holston Drive, 323-6824. I'm here speaking to you this evening because Miss Lisa Edwards cannot once again, we're going back to the law Bibles here, the Black's Law Dictionaries. Our first word, negligent homicide. It reads, homicide resulting from the careless performance of illegal or illegal act in which the danger of death is apparent, the killing of a human being by criminal negligence. Willful homicide, the act of the intentionally causing of another person's death with or without legal justification. We go into trespass of arms. Well, Miss Edwards at Fort Sanders Regional Medical Center, everybody in the world seen that she had a medical crisis going on. She was begging police officers to help her. They turned it around and were ridiculing and belittling a lady who was in a medical emergency situation at Fort Sanders Regional Medical Center. Their duty turned into a situation where they had to render aid to her, not sit on there in the middle of the street pulling and tugging on her and treating her like trash. Let's go with the definition we have for trespass of arms. In the first instance, lawful but unnecessary violence was the lawful used or the imprisonment continued after the process had ceased to be lawful. A woman was suffering as she was, I can tell you from firsthand experience what happens to you when you are surrounded by people with firearms. Your breath gets shallow, your heart starts racing. Miss Charmaine Allen, she hurried up and said, well, the medical examiner said she has some issues. That's not her job.
Mr. DeBrell?
Yes, ma'am.
Your time has ended. Will you wrap up your closing remarks, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
A statute that mandates forfeiture of office if the holder willfully neglects or fraudulently fails to perform her duties. When police officers are threatening a woman with what will happen to her in the custody of the jail, it's a problem. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other business to come before this Knox County work session? Commissioner Daly?
What about this?
Yes, that would be right now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everybody put in your calendar, May 16th is Farm Day at Chahowee Park. There's going to be 1,200 kindergartners to fifth graders. They're going to have cattle, goats, everything, get a free ice cream sandwich. It is a great event. I don't know if you've been to it or not, but on May 16th from 9 to 2 is Farm Day. And I would advise y'all to go because you'll enjoy it. Plus you get to see 1,200 pre-K kids that are running.
Thank you. I may see you there. I've been asked to be a chaperone for my son's class, so we'll see. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Double check your email for an invitation to join me on Wednesday, April 26th at 3 o'clock in the Commissioners' Conference Room for a recap meeting of our Junior Commissioner Program, where we will review the program, the exit surveys, feedback, and make tweaks to improve the program for next year and to establish a model for other counties which continue to call and ask for help establishing their own. So, thank you very much.
Any more discussion, announcements? I don't know, you're staring at me like I'm crazy. Nobody pulled it. Are we automatically doing zoning? Because nobody said it this time.
Can
Can you, Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, we have 13 zoning items on the agenda. 8 of them are on consent, so that leaves 5 total to discuss. One of the commissioners not present, so we only have 4 items. So if those 4 items, that there's the commissioners that are in their districts, if there's something we need to know, if they just would let us know. We don't need to read them into the record or anything. Does that make, could we do that and I can tell you the numbers?
I'll go first if you.
What number are you?
I put mine up. It's down towards the bottom. It's sector plan change plus rezoning.
Okay.
That is there on John Sevier Highway at Chapman Highway where we had done a sector plan change and a rezoning for apartments.
Okay.
There, right next
62
to
and
it.
63.
I think it was 18, correct, Amy? I think there was 18 at the first apartments. I think it was 18 at the first one. Now it's to 7 on this one there, and it is going to be senior housing. So It will take a sector plan change plus a rezoning.
Okay. And then there's one in District 3, number 59.
I have
On Mayor
nothing
Pike.
because, yeah, I go ahead and meet with my people way ahead of time. So mine is always zipped up and ready to go on zoning night, so we're good.
Okay. And number 6 District on Beaver Ridge Road. 54.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point it out that there are several zoning items that have conditions, and it is very important that if you make a motion that you include those conditions so that they can be enforceable. Just wanted to remind the body of that. And then also, Commissioner Beeler asked me to just briefly make a comment on number 60, which is a really great request going from rural, well, it's actually asking for a rural preservation zone. And that's something we don't see very often, but this is a horse farm who wants to protect the rural settings. And so I just wanted to say thank you to that applicant for preserving some of our beautiful landscape out in District 8.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Is there any more business to come before this Knox County Commission work session? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.